This is the D6 generation with your hosts, Craig Gallant.
No, cut that. Keep that. Someday it's going to be worth something.
Russ Wakelin.
You put me in an ATST with frickin' Wookiees attacking me and whatnot?
Now you're talking.
And Raef, Hollywood Granger.
I still don't know what S-foils on an X-Wing are.
With contributions from Total Fangirl
Vampires do not sparkle.
and our loyal listeners.
Are you crazy? That's like 400 hours of gamer nonsense.
Welcome to another edition of Rapid Fire, the round table discussion of all things gaming. Come at this ponderous, unstoppable speed of time, grinding ever forward, crushing everything before its implacable, unfathomable weight. Brought to you by Roland Steiner, Jordan Steinhoff, Toby Sterling, Bill Tigler, Adon Tejeda, Jake Thornton, Matthew Trout, Kevin Ushko, Isaiah Vallejo, and Tom Vassell. Tom Vassell.
Wow,
That's right.
Tom Vassell.
Wow. That's
Patrons, and
great.
you too can be a patron. You too can support this ridiculousness and help us keep these lights on. Thanks to all of you who do that day in and day out. Let's begin. I'm Geekly McNerdigan, your host. Today our panelists are Russ Wakelin and the third chair emeritus progenitor of all preceding places, Raef Hollyweird Granger. Couldn't go all the way. Let's begin. Issue number 1. Philosophy of space and time is the branch of philosophy concerned with the issues surrounding the ontology, epistemology, and character of space and time. While such ideas have been central to philosophy from its inception, the philosophy of space and time was both an inspiration for and a central aspect of early analytic philosophy. One cannot truly know one's place in the universe if one does not know the time. Question. One of the earliest references to time comes to us from ancient India, where it was believed that all time occurred in a never-ending cycle of birth, life, death, and rebirth. According to the Vedas, the ancient Indian philosophical texts, how long does one of these cycles take? Rakshasas Russ.
100 years.
Rishi Marichi Raef.
7 years.
Wrong! So wrong. This may be the most wrong anyone has ever been on this show. 4,320,000 years.
Wow.
I don't think you guys really paid attention to that question. I'm feeling unappreciated. Issue number 2. In all creative human endeavors, one reaches points in the process where one thing ends and another begins. For many, the mastering of these transitions is the most difficult aspect of creativity. Whether we're discussing transitional sentences in formal essays or the transition of an acting career from the small screen to the big, these moments present stumbling blocks that can spell disaster to even the most adept artists. Question. One of the most successful such transitions in recent time was the elevation of Chris Pratt from television funny man to one of the most bankable serious action movie stars in the business. What was Chris Pratt's character's name in the television show Parks and Rec? Rondon Russ.
Oh, I know. Chris.
Not soon enough. Dante Fierro Raef.
Oh, I've never seen the show. Timmy.
And that is wrong also. The answer is Andy Dwyer.
Andy.
Oh, yeah.
Rafe, you got to watch this show. It's amazing.
First season, and they just liked him so much they just kept him around.
It's on my list.
Now, issue number 3. By now, the story of Solo, a Star Wars story, is legendary with a production cost of between $250 and $300 million. The film is currently, at the time we are recording, still $150 million away globally from breaking even. Although many, notably the crew over the D6 generation, really enjoyed the movie, it was plagued with bad press and bad luck from the beginning, which could only add to the production costs and thus the impact of the lukewarm reception. No pun intended. Question. Who were the 2 original, yes, 2, the number is 2 this episode, original directors assigned to the project before they were claimed by the black hole of the movie's twisted fate and replaced with the Hollywood icon Ron Howard? Ralakili Russ.
Bo and Luke Duke.
Rebolt Raef.
Russ Wakelin and Craig Gallant.
All of those are wrong, and one of those just came back from jail. The answer was Phil Lord and Christopher Miller. Phil Lord, Christopher Miller, I did not go to jail. Issue number 4. The navel, clinically known as the umbilicus, colloquially known as the belly button or tummy button, is a hollowed or sometimes raised area on the abdomen at the attachment site of the umbilical cord. All placental mammals have a navel, and some folks are far more interested into staring into the old tummy button than others. Question. What is the clinical term for the condition colloquially known as navel or belly button fetishism, or the higher than normal fascination with the human navel? Gallbladder Russ.
Buttonus examinus.
Raef.
That's so funny. Navel grazing.
Grazing. That is wrong. It's alvinophilia. Something chipmunk, something.
Ivanophilia? It feels like it's inappropriate.
Alvinophilia. That's it for now. Thanks for listening and good night.
This episode of the D6 Generation is brought to you by
Battle foam. Protecting your army so you don't have to.
And the War Store, bringing the war to your door since 1999, and that is for a decade or more.
Hello!
What's up, guys? Russ's hello always gets me.
Raef. Welcome to episode 239 of the D6 Generation.
Holy cow. Pretty incredible.
I am Russ Wakeland.
Who are you? You are. Oh, I am Craig Gallant.
And I'm Raef Hollywood Granger.
Hey, Raef, lawyer
Wait.
dude. Welcome back to the show.
It's Raef.
Raef.
Glad to be back, as always. I'm looking forward
It's
to it.
always awesome to have you on the show, Raef.
Thank you.
Yeah, so on today's show, Craig, do you know what we're going to talk about today?
I do. And I would tell you, but then I would have to kill you.
Okay. So what we're going to talk about today.
I have a sense that there will be a lot of alvinophilia going on.
Yes. So we're going to have Raef's Round Table, which, you know, for long-time listeners, you may remember this is Raef asking us a bunch of Raef-like questions, really.
Yep.
And we will answer those.
Totally unscripted. Nobody knows ahead of time. It just as it comes out.
And then later this episode, we have an announcement we're going to make, and we're going to talk a lot about that announcement as well. So you have to hang on for that. That's what we call, Craig.
Hang on to your hats and
Yes. That's what we call a leader.
Hang on to your soul. It's ooh.
Yeah.
Is it?
It's using radio terms again.
Something like that. So anyway, before we get to all that, though, we did run into Raef in Dunkin' Donuts. And Raef, do you remember what we talked about?
I do remember. We talked about the greatest movie, not of all times, but a great movie, Han Solo.
We did.
Yes.
So
Solo, a Star Wars story.
Yes.
Which may be eclipsed by Porkins, the Star Wars story. But at this point, Solo, the Star Wars story.
Sadly has shaken up the entire Star Wars cinematic universe.
Yeah. And we talk a lot about that. So if someone is interested in listening to that, Craig, what should they do to get access to the lost chapters and listen to our thoughts on Solo, a Star Wars story?
I think they should go to the d6generation.com, find the Patreon button, click on that, bring them to patreon.com, to the D6 Generation page. They can look at that, watch the video if they want to tear their eyes out. And then it's a way for you to help keep the show going and kick a little tip into the tip jar and keep everything, the lights on and the servers running and humming along and whatever servers do. And if you support the show to the tune of $2 or more per episode, the entire vault of Lost Chapters is open.
That was?
That's what that was. Yeah.
It was a vault.
Well, that was the last bit was the laser security apparatus turning off. So technically, it wasn't all the vault opening. Okay. You can also go to patreon.com and look for the D6 Generation. Same thing.
Same thing.
Different sound effect, but I'm going to let you figure that out on your own.
Exactly. So thank you for all that. So what's the time now for, Craig?
Time for me to reach over here, twist this, and go.
Achievements in Gaming.
It is achievements, of course, brought to us by all of our fine patrons, like those in the chat room now. Raef, who's in the chat room right now with us? Raef, who can you see there?
Who's in here is important, but before that, I must talk about myself.
Okay.
It just dawned on me. I never got a soundboard that lets me do any sound effect, guys.
No, and there's reasons for that.
Have
There are
all
deep.
the good soundboards. I have. No. I think mine's from the 80s.
I'm pretty sure we've discussed this before on or about episode 20, and I will give you the same reason I gave then.
What's that?
It's been well thought out. There were many discussions had, and we decided it would be best for everyone if you did not have access to that ability.
Yeah, that's probably true. After all these years,
the rest of the planet had a vote, Raef, and you lost.
Yeah.
Yes.
But without further ado,
Senegal was with you, but everybody else was pretty much no.
Let's say hi to Shay, Andy, Bob, Bob again. No, wait, there's more.
Kyle.
Kyle. I'm scrolling up. Craig. Oh, you know you're here, and that's everybody.
That's okay.
That's everybody.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us in the chat room.
That's fun. It's fun to see you guys in there. It's the first time I've seen it.
So, Raef, what have you been playing lately?
Oh, I'm actually prepared this time. Okay.
Ooh.
This could be the wrong game. I forgot to jump up and look in my closet, but it's the living. It has.
I'm prepared, sort of.
It has multiple names and multiple iterations, kind of like the Lord of the Rings one has. So this is it's the Arkham Asylum game. I'll go jump up in my closet and look because the name's important. It's a living card game, and it's where you can play it solo, of course, and you play these investigators, and you discover like the world of Cthulhu through cards. And I had a chance to play it with Sean the other day. Sean is a D6G listener from back in the day, actually, who lives in my hometown and was brave enough to reach out to me. And I say brave enough because he was like, this may seem weird. I admit that, but I feel like I know you after listening to, 100 shows. Would you ever want to go grab dinner one night or that kind of thing? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. So anyway, played with him. That was fun. And Craig, what's the game based on Serenity?
That would be Serenity Adventure. That would be Firefly Adventures, Brigands and Browncoats.
Yeah, that one. That game is so fun. It comes with these like cardboard rooms that you make, and I actually bought that game too, so I'm pretty psyched about that. And hold on to your seats, folks. I've played, I think, 4 games of 40K.
Wow.
Can you believe it?
Now, which army?
I'm playing the Death Guard, and I'm a Nurgle fan from way back in the day. I had a bunch of 40K armies. My 40K armies were the very first one was Space Wolves.
I remember that.
Yep. And then I loved the Imperial Guard, Russ, just like you did. I had a great Cadian army. That's the only army I've ever sold that I regret selling. Even my Space Wolves I don't regret selling, but that Imperial Guard army I do. I've had Nurgle and Sisters of Battle and Space Marine, just regular old Space Marines. So so I'm playing Nurgle again. The new rule set, I'm really loving it. It's super fun. It's crunchy enough, but yet it's soft enough. I don't know if soft isn't the right word, but yeah, crunchy enough, but playable enough to be have a blast. I'm having fun list building, and it's been great. Craig, I think Craig was my very first opponent, actually.
I didn't bring you into the fold.
Yeah, it's anybody who used to play 40K and wants to check it out. Highly recommend it. Highly recommend it. Can't say too much. Playing. I
will say this though. I do feel like, I'm not sure how I feel about this whole multiple ways to build lists thing.
I was
finding it
that was going to come up.
I want there to be one way.
Yeah.
I don't like that there's multiple ways.
Well,
but I'll talk more about that later.
There's just 2.
Well, is there though?
3.
Because isn't there the bring anything you want way?
There's 3.
And then there's the PowerPoint way, and then there's the regular point way.
Russ has a point, so let's all just back off.
Okay. That's right.
Well, I mean,
and then there's a way that has org structures, and then there's a way that doesn't, right? So, just saying. There's lots of opportunities here to do things.
I at first was hesitant due to that too, but then I realized it doesn't matter because my friends are all playing the point-based method, so we're all playing the point-based method, and so what do I care if there's other lists if other people want to play it a different way? So that's how I look at it as more opportunity.
It only comes up when you're invited to go halfway across the country to play a different way, is what Russ is
that's the problem.
Running into.
I like standards so that when I can go somewhere, what I loved about back in the day was I could go to a GW tournament anywhere and kind of know what I was getting into. Kind of.
Even Canada.
Yeah. Even Canada.
We even went to Canada once.
Yes, we did. So I do miss that. It's not a big. I mean, it's a very
Not a big
minor.
deal,
It's a
but-
very minor. I mean, how many people actually have this problem? Very few, probably. But,
Right.
You know,
It's so fun. Love it.
it is great, though. I do like the game.
The models are so good, but we'll talk about that in modeling.
Sure.
Still playing Pathfinder with my group. Absolutely loving the Pathfinder quote D&D system. So the Pathfinder system, because they now have a sci-fi system. So super fun. I have a rogue. She's doing great. Having a lot of fun. We are, Russ, running into the problem. I think you coined this phrase of the too many brains. You described this when you were playing Descent, that it was almost impossible for you to win as the Overlord because you had 4 to 5 brains working against your one brain.
Right.
You know what I mean? So we're running into that. You know, Greg is the DM. He's got 4 of us, me, Ryan, Chris, Rich, and he's got 4 of our brains working against his. And it's a lot harder for him, I'm noticing, as we get higher in levels, because his monsters have a lot that they can do. Spell casting, feats, abilities, you know. He has to remember
If only he played 5th edition. It's so much better at solving that problem for the Dungeon Master.
Yeah, you know, Greg had the complaint, and I have to admit, I have it too with 5th E. It's too rules light for me.
No, what's brilliant about it is that exact thing. So you can do, I think the most brilliant thing they did in 5th edition is legendary actions for powerful solo monsters.
Now, that is cool.
So the biggest problem, the biggest thing that broke 4th edition, and I think what breaks 3.5 also, is this idea that the monster goes. So you've got like a kick butt dragon, right? Who's got like 2 attacks, maybe 3 attacks, maybe even 4 attacks, right? Boom. And then the entire party gets to go. And then the dragon goes again. And then the entire party gets to go. But with legendary actions in 5th edition, the dragon gets his big attacks in his turn. Then one party member goes. But then before the next party member goes, the dragon can elect to use one of his legendary abilities between party members. So now it's like, dragon claws twice, bites, the paladin swings. But before the rogue can go, the dragon whips his tail around and smacks the rogue across the room. And then the rogue gets up and tries to get back into the fray. But then before the cleric can go, the dragon beats his wings and knocks the cleric across the room. And all that stuff's super simple and super easy to understand and makes for a great story.
That's a great point. I'm not going to lie there. That would be a welcome. And maybe Pathfinder hasn't. We're just not using that rule book. I don't know. But you're right. That's pretty freaking cool. But Russ,
and that's what helped us out. We literally had that battle just happen last weekend with my party.
I have to admit though that like the characters didn't seem special enough. Anybody can do anybody else's skills. Now I know we've talked about it before. So
what game is that?
5e.
No.
Yeah, it's all listed. Everybody has base skills. Like a regular character can pick a lock. Might not have advantage, but can pick a lock.
I think you may want to reread the book.
Now, I think you DM'd over it. You're like, yeah, we had this conversation. I don't want to belabor it, but
all right.
That's an old podcast they can listen to. But I think what you said was you're like, yes, Raef, I don't let my player characters do that. Or they'll be at disadvantage or something like that. You had GM'd it over that, is what I recall.
All right.
I do like having a tight-knit group, though. We only have 4 player characters. And it's really fun because everybody gets their time in the sun. So just still having a great time with Pathfinder. I've already talked about it. We set up another group on another Tuesday, much to Craig's chagrin, meets Starfinder. I don't like sci-fi games. I've tried playing Star Wars. I've tried playing Traveler. I've tried playing, what's the one with the bunny on the Gamma Wars? I've tried.
Gamma Wars. Old school, baby. Gamma Wars is awesome.
Going old school. I've tried Riffs. And I never.
Did you play Buck Rogers? Because that was awesome.
No, I didn't do Buck Rogers. I can never get into it. I think it's me, which I'll get into my theory. But we are playing Starfinder, who are the same people who make Pathfinder. And it's the best sci-fi game I've ever played. It's still not my love. I'm still a fantasy guy, come to heart. But Ryan's doing a good job as a GM. He's a first-time GM. And here's what's really cool with Ryan, Russ. You will love this. He is a 3D artist by trade.
Ooh, nice.
He took a giant flat screen TV like the size of a piece of plywood, made it horizontal, put some plexiglass on it, and bought some sort of Starfinder map kit. And we actually play on rendered maps that are digitally put into the TV. That's a player mat now.
That's great. That's really cool.
Yeah,
I like
and
that.
then he's going to buy. He hasn't done it yet, but the map lets you like unveil like what your character actually sees.
Yeah,
so you're like click, 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 and then
I do that now with. So the way I do that is I have a big TV behind me, and my laptop's in front of me, and there's a cable going to my big TV behind me, or you can use wireless transmission. And then what Realmworks does is Realmworks let you have a player preview, and you can slowly reveal Fog of War. So I don't have the cool thing he's got, which sounds awesome, which is the map's under your models and you can reveal it. But mine's up on the wall and the map slowly reveals as they walk.
That's pretty cool.
So
Can't beat
it's pretty cool. Yeah, it's not quite. We still have to have the drawing on the board, so when the battle starts, they draw. But like as they're walking through the dungeon, and they're like, "Okay, we take a left." I can just unveil on the screen. So down the left, you see a 60-foot corridor, and it like unveils itself. Right?
Yeah,
and there's a turn left and a turn right, and they can sort of see the map on the wall. Yeah. So that's really
pretty cool.
So I think that really adds a lot to your D&D game, and it speeds the game up a lot because you're not trying to draw every single move. You can kind of skip ahead.
Yeah,
so
totally. That's really neat. I'll have to remember that for when I GM again. For sure.
Yeah, I love Realmworks. It's been very good for that sort
of stuff. I'll have to check it out. To Realmwork, no, that's Hero Lab. Dave is using Hero Lab to have his Starfinder campaign, his Starfinder character, and he's really liking that.
Yeah.
Then I played your favorite, Craig, Agricola.
Oh, God.
Played that last night with my buddy Sean, my new D6G buddy Sean. We loved it. We played 2 players. It was a flippin' blast. Enough said. Then on the PC, I'm just putting it in here. I've been playing this game called Stellaris, 4X space expansion game. I love this game. Anybody who likes games that I like, go buy it now. Don't even think. Or watch for Steam sales. Just buy the base game and then buy add-ons later. I just can't talk enough about it. I've also been playing Blizzard's HOTS. Still having fun with that. Just unlocked a new character. Been having fun with that. It's just a fun game.
What is
it? Oh, it stands for Heroes of the Storm. And that's that Blizzard game that's like League of Legends. So you play 5v5. The matches last about 20 minutes. And it's this kind of tactical, strategic combo type of game. It's a PC game.
By the way, Raef, Andy in the chat room is reminding us that Stellaris just went on sale for the summer in Steam. So
yeah, definitely watch those Steam sales. Yeah. I have some of the add-on packs that I'm waiting for on sales too. I have maybe like 4 or 5 of the different add-ons. They're so good. But the base game itself is like once you buy the base game and all that free add-ons that come with it, it's awesome. So
yeah.
Let's see. I just bought a brand new game called Frostpunk, and it's a city building sim.
I've tried this one. Is this the one where you got a big generator in the middle of the frosty wastelands?
Yes. Yeah. It's really fun. That's the thing.
It's like SimCity meets Frozen
Wasteland, and you got to keep everybody warm, and it's really cool art and graphics and stuff.
It's really interesting. I'm still not sure how I feel about it, but I'm not disappointed I bought it. If that makes sense.
Super fun. Oh, and then keep an eye out at some point. I'm going to do what Craig does and get up on eBay. I'm going through a minimalism phase in my life, not just for gaming. Like my wife and I are like thinning out our closet and thinning out the bedroom and getting rid of all the extra plates. And so we've watched some documentaries, attended some classes on minimalizing. I'm loving it. Like basically the goal is to live in a tiny house without living in a tiny house. So for example, I don't think I ever told you guys this. I took my closet. And it's the theory. Did you guys see? It's these 2 guys. I can't remember the name of the documentary, but they basically travel around the world with like 1 T-shirt, 1 pair of pants, 2 pairs of underwear. Like, do you ever hear about that documentary?
No.
All right. So they started this. And they started this minimalizing type of movement. So what I did with my closet is, you know how we really only wear the same 4 or 5 T-shirts and our favorite pair of shorts and really the one suit coat that we really like and all that. But our closets are probably filled with stuff that we're like, well, I can't throw that away. It's a perfectly good pair of shoes.
Right.
I'll probably wear it sometime. This theory is like, toss it, like go donate it. So like Russ, I have 2 suits that were like probably $600 back in the day. I never wear them. I haven't wear them. I have my favorite sport coat that I have that I wear with dress up slacks. And it's not the blue blazer. It's a slightly different one. It was hard because I'm like, how am I going to be donating $1,200 worth of suits? Like, this is stupid. Nope. Tossed them. Got rid of all the extra shirts I never wear. Got rid of all the extra underwear and crap I never wear. All the extra socks, all the extra shorts. My closet is like, my hanging clothes closet for work is maybe 12 inches wide. And all of my other clothes I keep rolled up in a laundry basket. That's literally every single piece of clothing I ever wear except for winter wear.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
It is.
So how do you so do you have like how many pairs of pants do you have? Like 2?
I have 2 like casual slacks that I also wear for work. Mm-hmm. I have 2 dress slacks and 1 blazer. I have 3 button-down shirts. I have 2 dress up like golf shirts of different colors. and maybe 6 t-shirts. That's it.
That's pretty impressive.
And here's what it's done. You know how like certain people in fashion or like artists or like Einstein, you know how they like would always wear the same clothes every single day, so they didn't have to make that decision of what to wear. So it's almost along that theory. I don't have to decide. I'm like, oh, my Banana Republic gray shirts. I got a choice, black or blue. Boop, put it on, done. And the
Black or blue.
And I was really worried about people being like, did I see you in that shirt yesterday? Nobody cares. And if they do, they certainly don't say
anything. They'll talk to your face
Yeah.
about that. But I've gotten emails. I didn't want to say anything. But
and the second thing that's awesome is laundry is such a snap. So
don't you have to do laundry more often though?
Nope. I can still make it the whole week.
Really?
Oh, okay.
No problem.
Craig and I are like, wait, I'm doing the math on this.
Yeah, figure it out. Like, okay, I wear work dress shirt one day, second day slacks in the golf shirt, dress shirt the other day, golf's in the.
Okay,
in the
this
shirt.
is going to get personal, but what is the correct number of underwear?
I think I have 7. I think I have enough to go to 7, so I don't have to wash.
Yeah, but you want one every 4 days, right? I mean, you wear them right side out, and then you wear them inside out,
Exactly.
then inside out.
But I'll be honest with you.
Travel a lot, so I can't do laundry when I'm traveling, so I have to have enough laundry that can make it for the average business trip, which is probably 3 days. That's the trick. So I have enough laundry for that, but then I return, and that stuff hasn't been washed. Now I got to wear a different piece of laundry because it's all wrinkly when I get back.
Sure.
Right. So that's the trick.
Sure. Yeah. I'll try to find the name of that documentary. It walks you through that. All right, man. That's my last thing.
That's neat. Craig, how about yourself, sir?
How about me? Well, I don't know how I can follow along with all the laundry and whatnot, but
It's all over the place.
later on in this episode, I'm going to talk a little bit more about how this happened. But I played a bunch of games with one of my classes over the last couple of weeks, including Hex times 2, which is a great game to play with kids that are not really into games. Played a bunch of Not So Fast, which they kind of looked at sideways, and then they ended up loving, which is good. And one kid got hurt and, bled, but that's the price.
Injuries are part of learning.
That's right.
No pain, no gain.
To the table again. The Resistance. That's another good one that they enjoy.
Yeah.
Code Names. Vikings on Board was a big hit.
Yeah. Sure.
And then Uno. There was one day where they were like,
I have to take away gamer cred for playing Uno.
No.
I feel like
let me tell my story.
Okay.
The kids were like, we play your games every day. Can we play one of our games? And I was like, what do you got? And they were like, we have Uno. And I was like, oh. It was a 10-minute.
That's sad, but sure. Yeah. All right.
Okay. And then Russ and I played a big old game of Star Wars Legion.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's going to be more of that in the near future.
That game is more fun than it should be.
Maybe I'll
throwing
check
it
it
out there right now.
Any right to be.
Yeah, it should not be that good.
It's Star Wars.
Yeah.
So there's that. That's me. What about you, Russ?
Well, okay. So here's the thing. So the best part about playing this D&D campaign that I've been playing forever, this 5e campaign, which, Rafe, I'm sorry, it is the best role-playing game ever invented.
I think it's just
I will brook the argument
and all that. You're just having.
But here's the thing. No. I think there's enough data now from the gamer community that this is a thing. But anyway, what was awesome about it was my brother, because my brother plays. He's like, hey, you know what we should do for Father's Day, Russ? Is we should ask our wives if we can do for Father's Day 9 a.m. to 6 o'clock at night D&D.
Oh, that's a great idea.
And so he's running a campaign. I'm running a campaign. And the original plan was we'd play mine for half a day. Then we'd have a badminton tournament in the middle of the day for reasons that will become clear later. And then we'd have more of his campaign. But what ended up happening was my campaign was going so we just got so heads down into my campaign. Before we knew what happened, it was 6 o'clock. But what was awesome was, so I don't really know why these things happen in my campaign or exactly what causes them, but the players come up with the craziest ideas. So they're in this. So we're playing the Rise of Tiamat campaign, and they're now in the Sea of Moving Ice, which is in the northern part of the Sword Coast, and they're trying to find this large sort of floating iceberg that, rumor has it, there's some people living there that have some information they need. So they're trying to find this floating iceberg, and the way the module is set up is you search for several days through the ice trying to find it, and it's a random chance. So as they're searching for this ice, and they're in this Viking longship, right? So single Viking sail, lots of people rowing. They're in there. And as they're going along, all of a sudden, these Marin attack, which are sort of these mer people that throw these harpoons that stick you and pull you overboard. And I thought this would be an interesting battle because, they don't have a lot of ways to fight people in the freezing cold water. And the exhaustion mechanics in 5th edition are brilliant. And so the way it's set up is that, so there's this little exhaustion table. There's levels of exhaustion 1 through 6. And whenever you get in a situation where you might be exhausted, like freezing cold water, you make a constitution check. And if you fail, you take on a level of exhaustion. And so the first level of exhaustion, you get disadvantage on all saving throws and ability checks. And at the second level of exhaustion, you get disadvantage on attacks. And then on the third level of exhaustion, you can't move much anymore. And then the fourth level, and it goes up, and there's a bunch, I forget them all, but then finally you die, right?
Okay.
So that, which is great because it puts the fear of God falling in the water, right? So they're, oh my God.
I like that. That's cool.
So these things are fighting them. They're like throwing their harpoons at them. And my brother's like, I know what I'll do. I'm going to leap off the boat in midair. I'm going to polymorph into an orca. And then I'm just going to swallow one of these things whole. So he leaps off one side, does that, like grabs one, rolls like a 19, takes one of them out. And then the druid's standing there and she goes, oh, look, I just saw an orca. I will do a shapeshift into an orca. And she leaps off the other side. And all of a sudden, they're 2 orcas fighting off all this stuff. It was hilarious. It was great. Meanwhile, the paladin's like, I'm going to let one of them hit me with a harpoon. Then I'm going to grab this and pull the guy out of the water. It is in a opposed strength test. He did that. It was awesome. It was a great battle. But the reason this is what's that?
It was Greenpeace D&D.
It was Greenpeace D&D. And the best part about it was this was an interesting little side encounter because due to this totally random encounter, they had discovered they could turn into orcas.
Yeah.
Now, this is a thing because now they're in this Viking longship, right? And they're getting near this giant iceberg and they're trying to sneak up on this iceberg. Now, they notice that there's these sort of like ice hunters that are in these little kayaks that are leaving the iceberg and going hunting. And so they want to question some of them. So the bard sees them going by and they try to escape and they try to escape back to the iceberg. So the bard does animate objects and gets all the kayaks to start paddling themselves and floating back to the ship, captures them all on board, interrogates them and figures out they want to get to this iceberg secretly. And the best part about this is a little bit of a spoiler for the module. Now, what the module expects you to do is land on the edge of the iceberg, go on in, meet the villagers, beat them in single combat, impress them away, work their way into the iceberg. And inside the iceberg, you find out there's members of the Cult of the Dragon living in there.
Okay.
And inside the iceberg, there's a dragon that if things go badly, he will escape out of a secret tunnel in the bottom of the iceberg and swim away. So they're like, we want to sneak up to the iceberg. So how are we going to do this? Well, they've got some cold resistance. They've got some underwater breathing. And then the 2 of them can turn into orcas. They take one of the halflings, they put the halfling inside the mouth of the orca and they swim underwater to the iceberg. And then they're like, well, since we're under here, let's look for secret caves. And the module literally says, there are caves under the iceberg, but there's probably no way your party can take advantage of them. I'm like, well, not my party. So they actually go in through the escape hatch under the iceberg, come up behind the dragon, and the ranger's like, I'm going to sneak out in the pool of water like a Arctic ranger, perfectly sync. They're not going to know I'm there. I'm going to find out what's going on. And I'm like, well, you're not an Arctic ranger, so like it's going to be tough. So make a check with disadvantage to be stealthy. And she rolls 2 20s.
I love it.
You are an Arctic ranger. So she comes up. They totally surprise the dragon, take it all out from behind, and completely decapitate this whole adventure like in like 30s. It was amazing.
That's awesome.
It was hilarious to watch. It was awesome. And one little technical tip. So I mentioned earlier that I always have this television behind me that shows where we are, and I have like thematic pictures, like pictures of real icebergs in the background, so people feel like they're in the Arctic, and I show maps and things. And it's a real part of now how I run the campaign. And so this day we were traveling to my brother's house and we were going to play there. And so I have my laptop with me, but I'm like really bummed because in his room, there's no television. So I'm like, oh, how am I going to do this thing? So I had this great discovery. I grabbed my iPad and I plugged my iPad into my laptop with a regular iPad USB cable. And there's this piece of software called Duet. You can download it from the App Store. And what Duet does is it turns an iPad plugged into a PC into a second monitor. And so I was able to carry this to my brother's house, and I put the iPad facing the party outside the Dungeon Master screen. And then I had my PC in front of me behind the Dungeon Master screen. And so all the players could see this screen like it was a giant TV behind me. So they could still see the map. They could still see the pictures of monsters and everything. And it was a great way to get that sort of experience of, a screen that people can see, make it portable. So I really like that. That was Duet. So using Duet, an iPad, and Realmworks, I was able to do this cool it worked out pretty well. Let's see. What else?
Duet. Like, why couldn't you just plug an iPad into a monitor?
Because an iPad into your laptop won't automatically be a second screen. It just charges.
Oh.
So you need software that turns it into a second screen.
That's funny. You should. It's so funny. You should talk about that, Russ, because I was thinking I need something like that for work. I'm like, how do I get a second monitor for my laptop? And I don't think my laptop recognizes second monitors. I'm not sure. It might.
It should. But if you have an iPad, you could do it. Look up Duet. Like, two people.
As in two people singing a song.
Yes,
okay.
Exactly.
Ooh, can I butt in? Because I thought of a proud dad moment.
Yeah, sure.
So my daughter who's 11 is asked to play D&D at her school. There's a teacher who's running it for a boys campaign, and so she's like, "Mom, I'm going to run it for girls." So she get a bunch of girls together, and so everybody's all excited. My daughter's all excited, and she's only like made characters with me. We've never played for reasons that now escape me. Actually, that's not true. I think I tried, and they were just a little too young, and they got like a half hour into it. I'll say it was like her and a couple friends, and they just got bored and wanted to play. I hadn't thought of it since. So I'm at the ball field, and all these moms come up to me. And they're like, "Hey, are you going to help our daughters make D&D characters?" And I'm like, ha, 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 just thinking it's like, a little chit chat. But the moms kept asking me. So like they were really serious about it. I'm like, sure, bring them over. So we made all their characters in 5e. So it was fun to like go back into that. Here's the story. They're playing the dungeon. I'm like, "Hey, how was your first dungeon, honey?" She's like, "Well, Dad, so there was this fire element." That's what she called it. There was this fire element, and it was like downstairs, and we were upstairs, and there was all this fog, and we knew that we needed to see the element, fire element. And so I said to her friend, she's like, she's a druid. She's like, "Turn into a frog, hop down the stairs, and go see if you see the fire element." And they're like, no, it's not downstairs. Why would it be downstairs? And my daughter's like, yes, the fire element's like in the pool of water downstairs. And that's why we have all the fog. It's not fog, it's steam. And sure enough, that whole plan worked. And I'm like, such a proud dad that my daughter figured
I know,
out.
right? You have these great moments when your kids do these things, and it's like, I cannot overstate how much fun it is to play RPGs with your kids.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah. So now over the summer, her and her friends, they want to continue their adventures over the summer. So I'll be playing some 5e, Ross. I'll have to get some tips, and I'll need some tech help on that TV thing.
Yeah, try to pick a lock as a paladin and see how that works out for you. All right, so moving on.
I'm going to bludgeon you.
Charterstone, played some more Charterstone with the family, still loving that game. This is the legacy worker placement game. Fantastic. Also, Craig mentioned we played Star Wars Legion. That was awesome. Played some Star Trek Ascendancy, Craig, with Chuck.
It's been a while. Chuck's good for one of those games.
Yeah. And so we didn't have anybody else to play with, so we played now with the Borg expansion. You can play 2 players. So we played 2-player Star Trek Ascendancy with the Borg in the middle.
How'd that work out for you?
Well, I was assimilated, but Chuck won.
Oh, well, that's
so. Yeah, so the Federation lived through it. He created 2 death traps for the Borg, and it was awesome because he created this one death trap, and then the Borg figured a way around it. It was like they adapted around it, which is very Borgy. And then the Borg came racing towards Earth, and in the last minute, Chuck built up a fleet of like, I don't know, a massive fleet. It was like, must have been 30 starships. And it was great because, Craig, there's these new little, ways, and one of them has Wharf 359 in it. It's a little icon, which is the place where the big battle with the Borg and the Federation happened in the show. And that's literally where the showdown happened between these Third Federation ships and the Borg. And he just kept killing Borg cube after Borg cube. I think it went through like 6 of them. And he finally won the game. It was awesome. So kudos to Chuck. The Borg are really tough. He did a fantastic.
Wait. I zoned out. Is this a PC game, a board game? You played on your iPads?
Game. I will just say this right now, and I will brook no argument. It is the best Star Trek board game ever made by humanity.
Is it a chit game? A little.
And I like Starfleet Captains, but Star Trek Ascendancy is way better.
Is it a chit game?
No. It is what's unique about it is it's a 4X game. So you're expanding, exploring, exploiting, exterminating. What's really unique about it is there's no game board. Instead, each of the systems is a circle, and then they're connected by random lengths of sort of like impulse. I don't forget what they call them, little connectors. So you're basically building the board as you go. literally building the game board as you go. And that makes it amazing. And that's what makes Chuck's love it so much. Chuck is not a Star Trek fan. He doesn't get any of the references. He doesn't understand anything about Star Trek. And he loves it because the 4X mechanics in this game are so strong. The components are amazing. I just painted up all my star bases. I'll talk about that in modeling. It is fantastic. Really, really great 4X game. And it's even better because it's Star Trek. And now it has like 5 factions. So you got the Klingons, the Romulans, the Federation, the Ferengi, the Cardassians, and then the Borg is the 6th faction, but they're an NPC faction. You can't ever play them. Well, you can be assimilated by them and help control them, but you never really. You don't want to be a Borg.
That sounds like the Borg.
It's very Borgy.
Would I like it, Russ?
I think you would. I think you would actually. Yeah, if you don't mind spending. It's not a fast game. It's a 4X game, so it's an afternoon game. If you don't
I
mind
like those sometimes.
sitting down for a nice, relaxing game and building a star empire with one of the Federation factions, then you'll like it.
Okay. All right.
We should try it out sometime. Then Chuck's great. Chuck always brings a pile of games.
That's great.
And he brought some games I've never heard of before that I love. So I played Azul.
He's good at that.
Azul is amazing. What a great abstract 4-player point game. I loved it. It's basically Sudoku meets really cool tiles. I don't know how else to describe it. Played Pyramid Poker, which is a stupidly bad production game that is a lot of fun. Which is basically you build a wooden pyramid out of poker card face stuff, and then you take it back in a weird order and try to build poker hands. I don't know how else to describe it. It was a lot of fun. Then I played, more about this later. Craig and I are working on a super secret project. I played 2 rounds of that with Chuck and Blake and got great feedback, and future things will happen about that. I'll explain more.
So
about
that's not today.
No. Then Craig,
Yes.
I actually bought Nut So Fast. So I saw Nut So Fast in my local gaming store. And because Craig has been hoarding the copy that Kurt sent us.
Yes, I have.
I had to buy my own copy.
Yeah.
So I did, because that game is amazing. If you see Nut So Fast in a store by Smirking Bagger Games, just buy it. It's awesome.
Oh, it's that good.
It's fun.
Yes.
Okay. I love to hear that.
It's
And
fast and fun.
Yep. And last but not least, Craig and I have a special trip, which is about the super secret project coming up
On our favorite rocket ship.
Yes, and on the super secret trip, we are going to be playing 40K, which I haven't played in a while.
That's awesome.
So I'm doing a bunch of things. First of all, I'm checking my Imperial Guard army in a bag on the plane, so battle foam to the rescue on that. Yeah. And secondly, I've been working on my list building, and this is where I was talking about that earlier. I think I've got a list, but I'm probably going to have to tweak it tomorrow night when we get there, Craig, because I'm still confused by how this is supposed to work. So.
It's not as confusing as you're making it seem, so I think you're probably fine.
Well, I don't like the fact that it doesn't matter what weapons you put on a Lehman Russ battle tank, it's still the same point. It's freaking me out.
I'm telling you, it is not granular. It's not the way I would choose to do it. It's not the way we do it locally, because exactly as you say, people like, I don't know, all of us, would be like, wait a minute, so I can max out all my cool weapons, because the power level of the Lehman Russ is reflective of the average point the points it could be worth. So if you take a stripped down Lehman Russ and a Lehman Russ with everything you could possibly put on it, the power level of the Lehman Russ selection is sort of like in the middle of all that. And it's something so that you can just really quickly open your book, write out a list, and be playing in a matter of minutes. I don't like it, but that is the way they play where we're headed. So my concern is more that we were told to make 150 to 200 power level lists. Everything I own for any of the giant armies I have barely scratches the 150 point surface.
I think you and I have to ally against whatever
the only option we're going to have. So so I've been focusing more on 100 power level lists.
I think my entire Imperial Guard force gets to about 80.
Yeah, it's not good.
That's the problem. Like, I can't make it higher by cranking out the because the war gear on these things. Like, I have a demolisher with plasma cannons. That's normally a lot of points, but in power levels, it's like, whatever. It's a Lehman Russ. Like, really?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I could see your frustration there, then, Russ.
Well, it's not frustrating. It's just weird.
Fair.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
it's fine.
I mean, Russ hasn't played a lot anyway, and he's played the way we locally play. So,
right.
And I've played a lot, but I haven't ever played with power levels except one time when you and I were doing it for the review. I looked at my army list to see what the power level was and was like, well, that's odd, because it can fluctuate hundreds of points depending on how you how you kit out your. Although I do have some units that I made ages ago for the team tournament that I've never been able to afford since then. That I'm like, wow, this costs the same whether I take all the cool stuff or not. So I might as well take that.
Yeah, I'm just going to drive around and blow stuff up, Craig. That's my plan.
That's the whole point.
Probably my own guys.
I'm going to run in, howl, and blow stuff up.
Right.
These
what about
Russ's,
modeling?
are these Russ's Roughnecks?
Yes.
Sweet,
the
dude.
same. The Imperial Guard that have been playing forever are back.
The Lehman Russ that blew up in John's apartment.
Yes.
The turret flying through the air and crushing Colonel Russ.
Yes.
Is back.
It's back. It's back. It's always been.
Interesting.
Never been lost.
That is it.
I have the original. One of the Sentinels in my army is the original egg-shaped GW Sentinel from 1990.
Yeah.
Still
thing's
fielding that
classic.
bad boy.
As an
It
ancient,
is.
storied army.
It does. And I'm still, Craig, I'm still fielding the Rough Riders, even though they're not in the book.
Yeah, you can. You absolutely can.
Right. So.
Yeah.
All right. I just need them for power level points because why not?
Right? Yeah. Because you need.
Also with power levels, you can mix and match any two factions, right? So it doesn't
No,
really matter.
that has nothing to do with power levels.
Yeah, but you can pick that other list battalion type, like
Yeah, you can, but then you've got to be very careful because your army to be battle forged, your army has to be and then to use those cards and those stratagems and everything, your detachment has to be all of one kind. So only the one regiment, and there's a lot of the power of an army actually rests in its stratagems, which you only unlock by having a very specific unified force.
Yeah. All right.
Well, it sounds like wherever you're going, Russ is making it more complicated.
No, I'm sure it's fine. All right. Modeling. Rafe, what have you been building lately?
Well, I built my neural army. So I put together 20 cultists. I had the main 3 HQs already built. I had the bloat drone already built. I have a Space Marine Predator, which I need to Nurgleize, which I want to ask the audience for some tips. But they needed to be based, spray painted, so I did that. And then I built 10 Plague Marines. And note to the wary, or people who haven't built GW models, they're still the best models ever. But I did not pay attention to the directions. I saw all of these lines and numbers, and there's I don't know, 12 parts per Plague Marine. And I'm like, I don't need that. I'm an experienced modeler. Well, no, you do need it because they make them so unique and so awesome now. The arms aren't just the generic arms that can hold the bolt gun. So I had all sorts of arms that couldn't hold a weapon, and it was so annoying. So I basically had to do that trick where you take the shoulder pad, like you just literally glue the arm like on the guy's like corner, to make it hold the plasma rifle, and then the shoulder pad just covers the big gaping gape, which then stinks because your bonds aren't as good.
Right.
So note to the wise, do follow those instructions. But other than that, they are awesome, right, Craig?
Yep, I like them a lot.
Yeah, and I was a little bit annoyed, I'll be honest, with the Chaos Cultists. Like, I'm like, I don't need these to be as unique. Like, just give me one whole cultist to snip out and stick on a on a base.
There's like 2 or 3 parts to each cultist.
No, you had to do this weird thing, Russ. They did this weird thing with like the cultist was like sliced in the middle. Like, must have made sense on how to do it through their modeling
that's weird
process.
That's the way they've been for about 10 years now.
Well, that's how long? No, not 10 years.
Yes, absolutely. The last edition of 40K had cultists that went together the exact same.
Okay. Well, I haven't played it since 10 years, I guess. So I'm still mad.
But they're not options, is my point. Yeah, I mean, yes, you have to follow the instructions. Like this, part 1 goes with part 2, but it doesn't go with anything else because it's like an arm and half a leg. It's like it slides in that place.
You're right, but what I don't want to do, I don't want to look at a sprue.
You don't care about the dynamic poses, is what you're saying. You're just like 10 lame, boring, single.
No. Give me 3 different poses, and I'll make my squad of 10 out of that. One guy, stick him on there. What I don't want to do is look at the sprue and go, here's a body, here's an arm, here's a head, here's a body, and then I got to go look at the booklet and go, okay, let me see. The body with the horn out the left. Oh, that goes with the scythe arm. Oh, where's that on the sprue? Oh, it's over here. That's what I don't want.
Yeah.
You feeling my pain?
No.
Somewhat.
No.
Russ is like, somewhat.
Each their own.
I will say this. Matt Alex gave me the tip. I don't know what they're called. Craig, you might know. He's like, there was like it's almost like a starter box. He's like, get the starter box of Plague Marines. And they literally were that, Craig. You snipped the whole Plague Marine off and stuck them on the base.
Yeah, they're the monopose snap.
Yeah. I did buy a bunch of those.
Oh, there you go.
I did buy a bunch of those, and at first I thought I was cheating, but later I was happy. And when they're all blended in with the others, you can't tell that they're the monopose ones at all.
Yep.
So that's my tip on that.
Yep. Makes sense.
Yep. That's all I got.
All right.
How about you, Craig?
I was going hell bent for leather, trying to finish my drop fleets when all of the Legion stuff landed, and so all drop fleet went on hold. And
You got distracted too quickly. You didn't even play a second game.
No, that's not true. I played a couple games, but then I put it all aside because I played down in Lincoln. But then I put it all aside. Yeah. So I have now put together and primed and base coded 35 stormtroopers, 42 rebels because it's 35 from the base set. But then our friends over at Impact Design, is it Impact Design? Is Dave and Ryan's thing?
I don't know.
Impact 3D Designs.
Impact 3D Designs. They're just starting up their own company where they've got a really high end 3D printer that does resin 3D prints, and they were like, hey, we want people to test our machine, so go find free stuff and we'll print it out for you. And I found a bunch of free Star Wars Legion models that are rebel aliens. So I've got a bunch of rebel aliens that I can seed into my units, and some cool characters from Rogue One that I can put into my units, so that's cool. Luke, Darth Vader, Leia, Veers, ATST, Airspeeder, 2 ATRTs, and 4 speeder bikes, and they're all basically base coded now. So very excited. The Rebels are taking me forever because I don't want to go with a unified paint scheme. I want them to look like more like Rogue One, like they're all like coming from different places, all coming together as one force. The Stormtroopers are going to kind of go a lot faster, I hope. And continuing with the 3D train that I'm on now, where I don't get a 3D printer of my own. I just buy other people's 3D printed stuff. I got a bunch of terrain from Imperial Terrain 3D printed terrain, which is awesome. And I talked about that last episode, so I'm just going to leave it at that. And that's me. Russ, how about yourself?
All right. So not a lot of painting, but I did paint. So I picked up last week all of the star bases for Star Trek Ascendancy. So Rafe, in this game, the core game comes with little plastic spaceships for all the different factions.
Mm-hmm.
So little Galaxy class starships for the Feds and Klingons for the Klingons and all that. But then for the star bases you can build, each race is limited to a total of 3 star bases they build. They're just tokens. But Gale Force 9 was kind enough to come out with really cool 3-dimensional star bases for each of the factions.
I love that.
So I bought all of these blisters. Each blister had 3 star bases, 5 factions, so 15 star bases to paint. Primed them all, painted them all, tried to get them to match the plastics colors. You can, if you go to Twitter, you'll see them on the D6G feed. I was really happy with that when they came out. But then this other thing came along. So I mentioned, I think last episode or the one before, that I was trying to find a really cool gnome archer figure for my brother's D&D campaign, and I was bemoaning the fact. Yes, and I was bemoaning. I'm making an arcane. It's an arcane archer.
Oh, sweet! That sounds fun
for D&D. And when I was bemoaning the fact that it's really hard to find certain weapon combinations for certain figures.
Yes,
and my my daughters are playing in this campaign. My niece and my own daughter are both playing the cat people in D&D, and it's hard to find good cat people miniatures. And
first world problem for us.
Someone on Twitter said, "Have you looked at Hero Forge?" Oh my God. This is the most brilliant thing that humanity has invented for gamers. So if you go to heroforge.com, and don't do it on your phone, it works on your phone, but it's not nearly as good. And by the way, if you want to keep any money you currently have in your bank account, do not do what I'm about to tell you. do not do. So if you don't mind spending money, go to heroforge.com. And I don't care if you're a role player, a 40K player, if you are someone who's interested in models, go to heroforge.com. What this lets you do is it's literally think about your favorite video game RPG and how you can build your own character. So you can be like, oh, I'm going to play a ranger who's an elf. So I'm going to pick an elf. Oh, and you know how in Skyrim, like you can make the elven ears a little longer or a little short. You can adjust their expression. Maybe you can choose their stance they're going to have. Maybe you can choose which weapons they're going to have. Do they going to have a belt pouch? Do you want scale mail? Do you want a cape? Do you want a hooded cape? Do you want to have a crown on? You can do all of this. You design your model exactly how you want it. You can adjust their pose. You can make them mounted. You can make them on foot.
Wow.
And then you click mail me this model, and they 3D print it for you and mail it to you.
Oh,
And it is, well, okay. So you have several choices. You can print it in board game quality bendy plastic. That's $20 a model. You can click it in high quality plastic that's closer to what we're used to as miniature gamers. That's $30 a model, so not cheap. Then, though, if you really want something cool, you can have it printed, air quotes, in brass or pewter or steel. I don't know. Anyway, you don't do that for painting, but you might do it to make a cool model. Those are much more expensive. So it's not cheap, but they are nice. I really like the ones I was painted. I sent. I got two. I got one for one of the models for my Wearers of Purple, one of the main bad guys in my campaign. And I also did Nam Foodle Boondiggles, my gnome archer. And what's cool is you can write the name of your model down and it'll appear on their base, on the bottom of the base when you flip them over. It's really sweet. So if you have a particular character, it was great too for my daughters, because for the cat people, they can go ahead and they can get the faces just right. Do you want the ears coming through the hat or not? Oh yes. And someone in the chat room just mentioned too, if you do have a good 3D printer yourself, you can make the model and it'll send you the data file and you can print it yourself. That's much cheaper. I think it's like $5 or something. So if you have your own 3D printer, definitely take a look. And if you don't, if you've got a couple cool models, or if you want that really cool hero for 40K, they have all the 40K armor as well, and skulls and all that stuff. You can do bases. You can put objects on the bases. Man, just check it out. You will spend lots of money. Hero Forge. Just saying.
wow. Okay, I'm gonna check that out.
Yeah. Very dangerous. All right. What about other geeky goodness like books and movies and TV shows? Rafe, go.
Well, I tried on your. Well, let me go back. On your recommendation, Russ, we watched episodes, my wife and I. The best TV ever.
Isn't it good?
Oh my God, so good. Go, everybody listening to this, go watch episodes. It's about Matt LeBlanc playing Matt LeBlanc.
Me. That was me.
What do you mean?
My recommendation.
Oh,
Come on.
it was actually Russ.
I see it too.
Russ is just sitting there taking it.
I said it. It's a great show. I got it from you though.
Oh, you did? Oh, see, Russ is the one who told me, Greg.
Fine, whatever.
He did not give you any credit. So we just finished that. We're very sad to see that end. And then I did try Santa Clarita Diet, because who doesn't want to watch about
That
zombies?
show's awesome. You not like that?
No, with Drew Barrymore. No, I found, I'm 4 or 5 episodes in. I love the premise. The premise is suburban housewife played by Drew Barrymore. We don't know how she turns into a zombie, but she basically turns into a zombie. But she's not rotting or anything yet.
Right.
I've seen 5 episodes, but it is kind of interesting because they're like, well, how are we going to feed her? You know, I mean, it's
Right.
kind of interesting.
Awesome. Keep watching.
I don't like the husband, I guess.
Oh, he's awesome. That's the best. He's the best
And
character.
the dialogue seems a little forced to me.
Oh, I love that show.
And I'm not a fan. And Drew Barrymore, it almost feels like, I don't know, it's maybe she's too big a star for it. So I don't know. It makes me feel uncomfortable.
I don't know. I like that one. Anyway, all right. Teach his own.
So,
Then try Parks and Rec, Rafe. You'll like.
oh,
Parks
I
and
can't wait to watch that. And I'm finally catching up on Arrested Development. So I listened to Film Sack, one of my favorite podcasts of all times. And they were talking about how the new season 4 got re-edited. And they were just talking all about it. So I'm like, I got to watch this. So I threw it on Netflix. I love Justin Bateman anyway. And I was like, oh my God, how did I miss this show? So yeah, Parks and Recs is after I finish Arrested Development.
Okay.
And I'm having a scrolling problem. What else do I have listed? Oh, I found the documentary. It is called Minimalism, a documentary about the important things.
Okay.
That's the one with the 2 guys, and they've got quite a following now. They have a podcast, they have a blog. They're pretty big deals now. The other thing I've been enjoying is on Netflix. You'll see all sorts of stand-up comedians. You'll see new comedians. You'll see. I just been any new stand-up that's on. I'm watching it. They're so good. That's my story. Oh, books. So I bought a Kindle. Finally caved.
Wow.
I've always been a paper. What do they call it? Bibliophile.
Yeah, welcome to 2009.
I didn't want to buy a Kindle, but I went on a trip, and I was at the hotel in Costa Rica, and it was one of those deals where it was like it was a pulp book, and it was like leave one, take one. So I left the book I finished, and I picked up a Jack Reacher book. Loved it, so good. And then I was bummed that I couldn't have Reacher number 2, and I'm like, oh, if I had a Kindle, that would have solved that problem. So when I got back from my trip, I bought a Kindle, and I love it. I love the fact that you can just pick the book and then, I want the next one, boop, buy it, and you have it. So, and I like the portability of it. Like when I went on my trip, I wasn't sure how many novels to bring. You know, I'm like, am I going to finish 3? Am I going to only do 2?
My kids had we had one Kindle that the kids shared and Nicole shared, and then they all of a sudden just one day started reading everything on their phone, and that was the end of that.
My phone, even though it's a bigger phone, I still love the Kindle over the phone.
I know. I would think so too, but
I have the Kindle app, and I haven't used my actual Kindle in years.
Because you just read it on your phone?
Yep, I do.
See, I wanted to simulate.
Yeah, I don't have to think about it. I don't have to worry about what I bring.
One less thing to carry. The battery's always there. You know.
Oh man, I love it's a Kindle Paperwhite. The battery life lasts forever. And Russ, you said this back in the day. It was like a kitchen thing you were talking about. I like one form function for one thing. So for me, I like it. It doesn't feel like a book, but it simulates it pretty close. Anyway, I like it.
I was wrong about that.
Okay. What about that? Oh, I've been reading this book called Solve for Happy. It's foo-foo. It's about, how to be happy. But what I love about it is it's written by a Google X CEO. And so he actually goes about it in an engineer's way. So
that's awesome.
It's just rather than the ponytail guru on the mountaintop way, by the way, they're still all talking about the same stuff, but he does it in a more mathematician's way. Great story, great read. I recommend it for anybody. And then I'm reading The Zappos Experience.
Oh, yeah.
So that's really good. It talks about culture.
And shoes.
Do I do movies?
Sure.
Han Solo.
Keep going.
Han Solo, Credibles 2, and there's more, and I keep forgetting. I'm done.
Okay. Fair enough. How about you, Craig?
How about me? I just finished the Great Martian War trilogy that I was been talking about by Scott Washburn and narrated by Ray Greenlee, our own Ray Greenlee, who also narrated my novel, Legacy of Shadow. Go check that out. Great Martian War was really good. It just kept getting better and better. I really enjoyed it. The last book, Breakthrough, or Counterattack. Sorry, Breakthrough is the second book. Was actually like a really long. It was a really nice, bulky read. Really, really, really enjoyed it. I am now reading. I just realized when I finished Counterattack that the latest Witcher book had come out while I wasn't watching by Andrzej Sapkowski.
Yes.
And Lady of the Lake. And I'm loving it, but I'm loving it because I love the narrator. I love all the characters. I am finding that I remembered as I'm listening to this that I have an issue every now and then with Sapkowski's narration. Like I can't. He's got like flashbacks within flashbacks within flashbacks that really start to confuse me. And so far in the first, I'm probably like 20% in. And so far, this whole book has been like that. Like it's this character here. Oh, I remember the day when that happened. And now it's this character over here while that's happening. But then that character is going to remember something in that. So it's like a flashback inside a flashback inside a flashback, which I'm finding a little confusing. But I still love the narrator and all the characters. So I'm more than willing to put up with that confusion. On TV shows, I had one of the most exciting things that has ever happened to me with TV shows happen. I thought I'd seen the timeless finale, but it hadn't been the finale. So
cool.
I stumbled upon the timeless finale, which was awesome. And I thought it was amazing. Like the whole ending was great. I really enjoyed it. It kind of spun the whole thing around. I thought the episode before the finale was the finale, which had a really cool kind of very suspenseful cliffhanger. Then that cliffhanger totally gets turned on its head in the last episode, which was great. So I really, really enjoyed that. Now that The Expanse got picked up, I felt like I could get back into that. And I'm loving the second half of the new season of The Expanse because it goes into book 3 of the series, Abaddon's Gate or Abaddon's Gate.
Right.
Abaddon's Gate. And so I'm loving it because it's got the whole thing with the rings.
It got picked up again. I missed that. Is it going to be sci-fi still?
No, it got picked up by either Amazon or Netflix. I can't remember.
Oh, good. Well, Nicole and I can keep watching it again.
Oh yeah, it was.
I have a
picked up
question
with
on that.
days.
I've seen the first series, which was so good, of The Expanse, and read all the books. And I'm scared to download the second one because I'm afraid I don't remember.
No, I mean it's a TV show. Every episode starts with previously on The Expanse.
Okay,
so
all right.
Yeah, you're fine.
Because I'm afraid where aren't they only doing like 3 seasons? Like, how are they going to cover like the 6 books? You know.
Well, they're probably. Who knows what they're going to do at Amazon now that they got picked up? So I don't know what their plans are. But the fact that the beginning of this season was a little slow to me, and that middle book wasn't really a big. It seemed like it was focusing on different pieces of that middle book than I would have focused on.
Yeah.
But
okay.
Right in the middle of the season, all of a sudden. Not for nothing, but a character who may or may not have been dead shows up, and you're like, "Oh yes, they went for it!" And that from that point on, it's just been awesome. And,
wait, is it doing a different plot line than the books?
Nope.
Okay, so they're not doing the Walking Dead thing where it's separate, but same but different. Okay.
No, it's the same.
You know that about Walking Dead, though.
What?
Walking Dead does not mirror the books. So characters you read in the comic books that are dead are not dead in the TV series.
Oh, yeah, no. I look at that as, I'm pretty much done with both the comics and the TV show Walking Dead. But yes, I know there are differences. And there are differences in this, too. There are lots of differences. But my point is there's a huge plot point in the books that's kind of odd. And I've always wondered, are they going to do that with the TV show? Because the TV show is very hard science, which the books are. But the books have a lot more leeway to explain how this weirdness is still hard science. And so I didn't know if they were going to do it, and they did it, which is awesome. They did it in a really cool way, and it was really fun. And there's new characters that I totally forgot they got introduced in this book, and so I'm super engaged and excited.
Cool.
And movies, I saw Solo for a second time, and there's your spoiler alert on whether I liked it or not. What about you, Russ?
All right, real quickly. So almost at the very end of book 2 of the Powder Mage series, still loving that. Shows, getting close to the end of Westworld. I'm all caught up. I can't wait to see the end of the season. I think there's 1 episode left.
Oh, I've been watching. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, then I'm going to hop over. Luke Cage just dropped another season on Netflix.
I thought that's like the worst one.
You are on crack, sir. It is excellent.
The Defenders is the worst one.
The Defenders is the worst one. No. Iron Fist is the worst one.
Fist is worst. And by law of contagion makes Defenders the second.
Because Defenders is actually not bad except for Iron Fist, which is a shame because Iron Fist is one of my favorite Defenders. But in any case, they've screwed up Iron Fist. But Luke Cage is awesome. Luke Cage is fantastic. If you've not watched Luke Cage, do so. Get yourself caught up. The new season just dropped.
Okay. Everything about
Luke. Yeah.
What do I watch first? Arrested Development or Luke Cage?
Arrested Development is funny and light, and Luke Cage is dark and serious comic book stuff.
Okay.
A lot less Luke Cage than there is Arrested Development, and the last season of Arrested Development, not including the one that's dropping this month, was a kind of a mess, a hot mess, if you will.
Yeah. Finished Full Metal Alchemist with the kids. Loved it. Loved every bit of it. It was awesome. In the video game front, I just finished God of War, which was amazing. What a great twist at the end. Oh my God, that was awesome. I had to run out and tell my daughters.
Hey, Russ.
Fantastic.
Yes. Will you buy me a PS4 so I can play God of War?
Sadly, no.
Oh, come on.
No. Then also, yeah, when the PS5 comes out, you can have my 4.
Okay, that's fair. Oh, I'm signing up on that.
Yeah, okay. I don't know when that is, by the way. That might be years ago.
I'm going to remember that for a prediction.
Yeah, write that down. Also, we're playing through Detroit. We like Detroit so much. Detroit Become Human. We like Detroit so much. Detroit is like Westworld, make your own adventure in a futuristic sci-fi city of Detroit.
Does it have any TV show being human?
No, but it's kind of like it because basically the premise is androids who are essentially do all of our work for us with parallels towards slavery and everything. The androids become sentient and start to try to free themselves, essentially. So there's social overtones, but what's really great about it is that it's a really interesting sort of make your own adventure. You play the game through 3 different perspectives of 3 different androids, going through 3 different experiences. And what's really amazing about it is how they do when you're playing the android, how you overcome your programming. It's pretty neat. Really like it. The graphics are insane. So if you have a PS4, I would definitely check out Detroit. A very different kind of video game too. And then for movies, also saw The Incredibles 2. I really enjoyed The Incredibles 2. Raef, what did you think about it? Yeah, it was really good.
You know, never mind. I was going to talk to you about it, but it could be spoilers, and it's still kind of new. I don't want to do that to people.
Yeah, I don't think we should spoil it yet. Maybe in the future.
Came out. Yeah.
So, is that achievements?
Wow.
That was long.
That was gigantic.
That's achievements.
And now, in an attempt to bring a small amount of dignity and decorum to this otherwise base form of entertainment, and I use the term loosely, I am proud to present... Oh, get on with it. It's time for App of the Ep. Seriously, Wakeland, I used to have my own segment, now I'm relegating to announcing this pap. Hey, you're lucky we still use you. Hey, welcome to another App of the Ep. This time around, I want to talk about a game that my youngest daughter and I say youngest like she's tiny. She's not. She's 14. But my youngest daughter and I are really enjoying this game, Unraveled 2. It's out on Xbox. I think it's on PS4 also. But it is wonderful. So it's a 2-player local co-op. So you can play, I like to call them couch co-ops. And it is a sequel to the original game Unravel. And you play as these 2 little yarn people. And you're the size of you're in the real world, and you're the size of about, a small toy, like maybe, 12 inches high or maybe 10 inches high or something like that. But you're made of yarn, and you're, 2 arms, 2 legs, a little head. And each of you is playing one of these little yarn guys, and they're connected together by a loose strand of yarn. So maybe imagine if you're like sort of a ball of yarn walking around. But you look like a person, and you're connected by this one little bit of thread that connects you. And it's a side scroller essentially, and it's a sort of a puzzler, action game, mostly puzzler. But what's cool about it is all the different things you can do. First of all, the graphics are stunningly beautiful, just really, really, really well done. Beautiful, beautiful game. And also the gameplay is fantastic. The mood music's wonderful. And I don't want to spoil anything, but as you go along, it seems like it's just a simple little puzzly side scroller in some sort of abstracted version of our reality. But as you go farther and farther along, things start happening in the background that start to become the foreground. And there's a whole story going on there that we're finding very compelling, in addition to the actual gameplay elements. And the gameplay elements are really interesting. So first of all, you jump, you hop, you climb. A lot of co-op stuff. So there might be a cliff you got to go up, and there's a branch there, and one of you has to stand on the branch to get it to go up to raise so you can get to the next level. But then you can kind of throw your yarn around like a little rope. You can tie your yarn to 2 different places, and all of a sudden it's like a trampoline. Because you guys are attached, if one of you can make it to the top of a high place, then the other one can climb up the attached yarn, or one of you can stand high, the other one can jump off and start swinging. And this leads to all kinds of creative puzzles and creative gameplay. And it's just a really, really wonderful game. And I can't speak highly enough for just the experience here. And she and I can't wait to play more this evening. So that's Unravel 2 on Xbox. Also, it's on Windows and on PlayStation as well. So pretty much all the platforms. Unravel 2. Give it a try now. Not too expensive, under $20. I'd say it's well worth it, especially if you have a friend you can play with on the couch. Thank you for listening to another scintillating edition of App of the Ep, a segment in which, hey, less of that, more just getting on with the show. Seriously, Wakeland, you are like school in summer. No class.
All right. Well, welcome back. Hello, chat room. I'm very excited for this segment. It's going to be another Raef's Round Table.
Woohoo! Yeah.
What's awesome about this is Craig and Russ have no idea. It's not pre-scripted, and anything's game. I almost thought about Craig doing an old Peter Lipton skit.
Yes.
But I didn't have it in me.
Got
For those that may be scratching their heads because they didn't listen from episode 5 on, Peter Lipton was a skit we did where it was based on James Lipton, who does the inside the actor's studio.
Yes.
So, but we're not going to do that. It's just going to be regular Raef's Roundtable. And first on the list is Russ, because he always goes last in achievements. So
do I? I guess I do.
You do. You're very gracious in that way. Now, what I've been dying to know, because I haven't seen you in forever, which is me. I haven't been going to game night.
No, I've been missing a lot too lately.
Oh, you have too?
Yeah,
I'm going to talk about that as my own. Okay. I'm going to ask myself a question.
Okay.
Or toss it to Craig.
Wait for that.
What is the one thing, you have to pick one thing that has captured your gaming fancy?
It's a tough call, but I'm going to say it is playing D&D with the family. So
it is. Okay.
Yeah, 5th edition with my 2 daughters, as well as my niece and nephew and my brother, has been extremely rewarding. I can't even begin to describe how much fun we have doing it. And I think it's one of the reasons, that plus the fact that my girls are now old enough to play other board games with me as well. It's one of the reasons that I think I'm doing okay not getting to my regular game night with the guys on Tuesdays. I mean, I did finally get out the other night. It was great to hang out with the guys, and we just hang out and had a nice long dinner. Craig and I played a nice long game. It was fantastic. But there's, I'm getting my gaming fix other ways. But really, the D&D campaign is one of the most rewarding I've ever done of all my campaigns.
Really?
Ones I participated in as well. Yeah, it's been really quite an experience.
What? I will now let you have honorable mention. What comes second?
Okay. What comes second? So I would say, well, I've been having a lot of fun with Craig just randomly trying miniature games. So
okay,
it's weird because I feel like we've been playing a lot lately, and it's funny because originally, we used to get a little stressed out at the show time having to try new games, and for some reason now I think it's been very organic. I don't even know. I don't know if you said that's true, Craig, but it's we're just trying all the stuff, and they happen to be miniature games. So it's and I'm not minding for some reason. And because I have an airbrush, I'm cranking the stuff out, and I painted up 2 whole armies for Rune Wars. Doesn't bother me that I've played it I've played it a lot of times, but then after Captain Con, we're let's try something else. So we're off to Drop Fleet Commander, and then all of a sudden, we're goofing around with Relic Blade, and now Craig's off to Star Wars Legion, and I'm really enjoying that with him. So for me, it's a lot of work for Craig. For me, it's just show up and see what amazing terrain Craig's created that we can try out the latest game on. So that's been a lot of fun to experience. But I feel like it's a lot more work for Craig than it is for me. So it's probably he may have different mileage on that one.
Craig.
Yes.
Feel free to respond.
I have really enjoyed, as Russ says, I think at Adepticon.
That's enough. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
You're off.
Wrong.
Go ahead.
I think at Adepticon, where we picked up first Drop Fleet, right, and Relic Blade.
What's that again? Is that with the real teeny tiny ships?
Spaceships. They're not teeny tiny. They're pretty chunky, but TT Combat now. It was Hawk War Games.
Okay.
And I think it still is technically. I think they own Hawk War Games now because they're still there and all.
Are these the ones with little chits, or do they sit on counters with little stands and little planes are on them, or spaceships?
It looks pretty much like Battlefleet Gothic or
okay. It's a full-on miniature combat space game. Yeah.
Miniature in space. Yeah.
All right.
Well, orbital combat space game.
Oh yes, correct. It is orbital combat, not space.
Right.
And so I really kind of enjoy. And I would second what Russ says, where the stress really comes in, where the pressure to play the new hotness, and you really need to, you feel like there's a wave behind you, or I don't know how you guys feel. I always feel like there's a wave behind me that's kind of pushing me, and I'm scrambling to try to hold on to the games I enjoy, and I'm losing my grip because I have to jump on to the next thing that we're going to review. And we have continued to do all the reviews. It just happens that lately we've kind of just jumped from one thing that I've enjoyed to the next. And so I don't feel quite as pressured as I did. But also, it's because this new Star Wars Legion thing is just bizarre beyond bizarre, because I started like truly hating and detesting it without really knowing what it was.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, it was, and that was all like at Adepticon. I going into Adepticon.
Wait, pause.
Yes, pause.
I get confused about the different Star Wars ones that are out now. So is this the one where there's Darth Vader and he's super powerful and you play a squad and it's like Descent, but it's Star Wars?
For clarification, Rafe, clarification, all Star Wars games, there's this guy called Darth Vader and he's super powerful. Just throw him out there, yeah.
Except for the pod racing game.
Yes, but if he were there, well, he's there. He's just smaller and his power is
Really
altered.
good
You know what, Russ?
And he's got a lot of midi-chlorians.
You know what? He proves your point. He wins. He's the most
does.
powerful.
Yeah, that guy with the flamethrower, he's got nothing on him.
Proves your point.
It's all about
That's right.
Bulba there, got nothing.
All right.
Nothing on
So
the.
anyway,
Yes.
no, Rafe, the Descent-like game is called Imperial Assault.
Oh,
Right.
This is a game that came out at Adepticon, and it is a true, you could say 28 millimeter, but they're actually bigger than that. They're closer to 35 millimeter. I don't know if you remember anything about Wild West Exodus, but Wild West Exodus kicked it up a notch size wise. It was like 32 millimeter. These guys are a little bit bigger than that. So
okay.
But it's a true war game. So it's played on a board, on a table with terrain and everything. You could check our Twitter feed to see what our.
Well, see, I saw the Twitter feed, but then I didn't know. I still get. I guess I didn't blow the picture up. I just was like, oh, that's that Star Wars game.
It's a miniatures game. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. So there's Russ. Russ is showing the chat room. What? That's a miniature. Oh, is that your resin?
Oh, he's awesome. He's so cool.
From Hero Forge, is that what it's called?
Hero Forge, yes. Sorry, I didn't interrupt you. I was just excited.
perfect.
He just came in the mail. He was delivered to me just now.
Yes, why is your brother there?
No. I just literally got in the mail. This is the one I ordered.
I got, for some reason, your brother has been texting like about him and Joe and Pete and I are on this group text that's usually just, when are we going to play a game next? And your brother was like, hey, look what I just got, after telling us they're $30 a piece and showing us the 5 models that he bought.
Oh, they're not cheap.
Let's get back on top.
Oh my God, you just dropped $150 on 5 models. And he was like, happy Father's Day.
All right.
That's right. I'm living large, people.
But anyway, so
it's that game, and you're
So my journey, if we will,
Yes.
with this game was, I love Star Wars. I loved Imperial Assault. I love X-Wing. I pretty much love all things Star Wars. And I was like, oh, there's a miniatures game. Oh, you bastards. When I found out that they had upped the scale so you can't use your Imperial Assault models, which to me was twofold slap in the face. One, you can't use your models, which stinks. So you have to buy all new armies of exactly the same guys. So I have to buy a whole bunch of new stormtroopers and a whole bunch of new rebel troopers. But the worst crime.
Boo-hoo. You love that.
No, not really.
No. I mean, yeah, you hate it in the beginning, but then.
No, but the worst crime, in my opinion, and I think you will agree that this is in my world a bad crime, is so you have all these cool character models that you play in Imperial Assault, right?
Yeah.
And it would be awesome if they could be a squad. They could easily make a card and that's your squad, because all of this Star Wars Legion is very close to Rune Wars in how it's organized, or X-Wing for that matter, right?
Yep.
And so all they'd have to do is print one card. Oh, hey, so if you have these models from Imperial Assault, boom, there's your cool rebel elite squad.
Yeah,
with
that's
all those
cool.
characters. And that would have been awesome because they're right out of your campaign. But you can't do that, and you're not going to be able to do that because the models are too small.
Oh, okay. All right.
So there's all kinds of really cool crossover that could have happened and can't happen now because A, they're going to want you to buy all those new models in new sizes eventually.
Jerks.
B, they just want you to spend more money, which I get wanting to spend money, but give me other cool stuff to spend money. I wouldn't spend money on all this other stuff. And the one thing, anyway, I don't want to get too far off track.
Right.
So
no hate.
Let me pull you back.
Clearly,
This far with no hate, man.
I want to go back to that wave.
No, I'm not done.
Oh,
I will.
This is called Raef
Look what you've done, Rafe.
Round
Look what
Table.
you've done.
I will be heard.
All right, sum it up. You get 60 seconds.
You can't come up
Control your guest, Rafe.
know.
Control your
how
guest.
much time I have.
We're going to talk about guest control later on, actually, or earlier on, whatever the time works.
So,
Man's out of control.
Russ and I, neither of us were really interested in Star Wars Legion, and I was all bent out of shape about the scale. And we found out they were releasing it at Adepticon, and we were like, we don't care. And we went and we looked at it, and nothing that we saw about gameplay. We didn't see anything about gameplay. First of all, there wasn't really a lot of like that. It was very hard to get to the demo tables and things like that. And so they were handing out these like pamphlets that are really cool and extremely well organized player aids, it turns out. But if you don't know the rules, then you're like, I don't know what any of this means, so it's useless to me. And so I was like, I'm not interested, and I'm still bitter about the scale. But the tables looked really cool, right, Russ?
They do.
The tables looked awesome at Adepticon. They had like TIE fighter parking lots and all kinds of cool stuff. Like they had all kinds of Tatooine tables. And of course, Gale Force 9 came out with a whole range of Tatooine terrain
Stuff.
Yeah. And so it was like, oh, that's really cool. And then I went to Disney World with my family. And the whole Star Wars aspect of that experience was just like, oh my God, I wish Star Wars Legion was like something I was interested in. But then I was like, that didn't matter because nobody's interested in playing it with me. So it won't matter, even if it's cool and I get it. Then I started thinking, I wonder if I could convince Reese to play. So I started like, hey, Reese, look at this game. Would you play this game with me? And he was like, oh, that sounds great, Dad. Yeah, I'd love to play that. So I was like, I could justify that.
There was your justification. Yep.
But then I was still like, oh, I don't know. That's, I'm still looking at like about, $200, I think, to get everything I want from both sides. And then our friend and local gamer and game designer, Tim Colonna, has gotten himself a 3D printer and came in with a bunch of Tatooine terrain last week. And I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. Okay, I've got to do it now because there's cool terrain. And I was like, hey, Tim, how much if you make me like this much stuff for myself? And he was like, oh, he gave me a cost that was like crazy. So I was like, okay, done. Here we go. Shake hands on that. And then he went, hey, have you bought anything yet? Because I bought the starter, but I just never got into it. So you could have my starter. And I was like, for a really good price. And I was like, oh my God, there we go. So I did it. That began. And the next day I got another starter because you need all those stormtroopers. And now I've got all this stuff and I've got all this terrain and I've got this extra stuff because our friends are starting a 3D printing company and they were like, hey, we want test models. So give us your ideas. And I was like, oh, look on Thingiverse or something. Yeah, I spent a lot of, somebody in the chat room can guess how much I've spent. I won't say it out loud. I won't say it out loud here. And so, so Dave and Ryan are doing, they're like, hey, we want to try our new printer. So send us files. So I went on Thingiverse and I found all these really cool Rebel models that had been designed for Legion. So you can have aliens in your stuff. And I got all excited about that. So they printed those out for just the cost of the resin because they're trying to learn their their stuff. And they brought that to me yesterday. I'm like, oh my God, that's awesome! It's like K2SO, the robot from Rogue One. I have 2 of those poses, and I have a bunch of aliens, and I have Cassian Andor, the secret agent guy from Rogue One. And so he could be like one of my squad leaders now. So I got all that stuff. And then I got all this stuff from Imperial Outpost, which is this amazing 3D printing. So I'm like well into the 3D printing space now in like less than a week's time.
Yeah, it sounds like you.
And yeah, I mean, it's terrain and it's amazing because this stuff like comes to your door like plastic, but fully formed. It's not even a kit that you have to build. It's like, here's your terrain. It's already all built and ready to go. And you're like, oh my God. So, I mean, I haven't gotten the Imperial Outpost stuff yet, but it all looks amazing online. So I'm thinking it's going to be amazing. And it was like a roller coaster, but I hadn't played the game. So I put together everything and I got everything primed and I thought up a really cool table I could make with all my old pirate stuff and my old Mantic game stuff. And Russ texted me yesterday, like, I can finally go game. What are we going to play? Are we going to play Drop Fleet? Because we've been playing that. Oh, we can play Relic Blade because we haven't played that yet. And I was like, how about Star Wars Legion? And so
And I'm like, whose stuff did you borrow?
yes, and I was like, I may or may not have. Wow, Mark, no, I have not spent that much. Wow, all right. So Mark spent more than me. Yay, I feel better about myself. Yeah, you're winning on some value of winning. You're gonna have a lot more cool stuff than I have. Yeah, so I put it all together, and of Russ is Russ. So Russ was like, okay, cool, I'm in. And we played, and I loved the game. I think Russ liked it a lot more than he thought he was going to, because he didn't think he was gonna, right? And I was afraid I wasn't going to like it. Russ was prepared not to like it. And instead, you've got this really nice, tightly framed, really concrete rules, sci-fi miniatures game that's in the Star Wars universe. So the only thing limiting it, I think, is as far as we were talking about last night, Russ, is the fact that right now and for the foreseeable future, there are only really two factions unless they get out, their scum and villainy faction from X-Wing eventually. But right now you've got
two factions.
You've got right. But Russ was quick to point out that your commander in Legion is very close in shaping the force he's with. Is very close to what a Warcaster does in War Machine. So different commanders are going to make your force feel very different. And so maybe that will mitigate somewhat the faction issue. So this is the first time this has happened where against my will, I've sort of been sucked into a game that I wasn't excited about. And it's sort of built over time to the point where I was like, I haven't been buying any hobby stuff for months because I was like, I don't know what to buy. I don't want to waste because I'm like looking around the pub, which looks like a warehouse again. And it's just stacks of stuff I haven't played. And I'm like, I don't want to go buy a whole bunch of Infinity stuff because it would look really cool playing with the Rogue Star rules. And then you don't play any of that anymore. So the Infinity stuff gathers dust and the Rogue Star book is on the shelf. And so I stopped myself, and I think what really happened was my discretionary budget reached critical mass and had to be spent.
Yeah, it had to be spent down.
Exactly.
Well, speaking of sci-fi miniature games,
yes,
40K.
Way to bring it back there, Rafe.
Thank you. At one point, Russ,
very good.
Which I think we talked about too, is you just have to let the guests go. Like sometimes there's just no.
Sometimes you have to let the guests just go. Yeah, right.
He's had too much coffee today.
I haven't had any coffee. Oh, can you imagine?
So speaking of 40K miniature games, I'm going to ask myself a question. And Russ, you're still not done. I got more for you.
Okay.
So I think it was you, Craig, that got me back into the new 40K, which I absolutely love. It's so fun. I don't know if it's nostalgia or...
I think it's a fun game system.
It's really fun, yeah. And so I'm playing Death Guard like you were. And I've had maybe 3, 4, 5, 6 games. I mean, you have tons of armies.
Right. I do have several, yes.
But I really like the rule set. It feels like a totally different game, so it's not just nostalgia. Where the nostalgia comes in is building the model kits. Yeah. Is fun. Those models are so great. Although I wasn't following the directions, so anybody out there, like I learned my lesson because none of the arms would connect right, and so that was frustrating. And Craig's like, yeah, you actually have to follow the kit instructions. So that was a little wonky. But the models are beautiful. I think the game plays well. I love the objective theme. Sometimes it seems like it's frustrating, like you have a bad pull of objectives, but then somehow it all works out in the end. So it has that feel where it's not just kill the other side. All the things I didn't like about 40K seem to be gone. And so my question to Russ is... I think you've taken are you just done with 40K? Like, I think you've taken a stance where you're like, I'm done with it. Or
no, I don't have a stance. I still have my Imperial Guard army. I've played the latest edition a few times. I want to say like 3 or 4. I was disappointed. So when it first came out, I got really, really excited. I was playing around with the Rough Riders, and then the Imperial Guard Codex came out, and they did away with the Rough Riders, and I was a sad panda. So, but that's not really a reason not to play it. The only thing about it I don't find that made me a little nervous, and I think it's gotten better. So I really like the objective system. I really like the cards. I really like that some of the simplifications I was nervous about, like vehicle facings and stuff, actually don't really bother me. So that was a pleasant surprise because I really thought on paper that looked bad, and in practice it's not a big deal. The only thing about it that has me a little hung up is the games for me, and I haven't played in a while, so maybe everybody's learned the rules now and it's much faster. But looking up the stats for the models and during game, the way I haven't figured out how to organize it better. And so our games take a long time, like a long time. So like 3 hours, 3.5 hours. So it feels a little too long for me for what it is, because it is a little simpler now. So I like that, but I wish it was about 2 hours or a little bit less. I don't know. Have you guys felt this getting faster now?
Yeah, it's faster. Yeah.
Yeah, good.
It's a little faster, but it's still not as fast as it feels like it should be. But the surprising thing to me is even when I like wake up out of my 40K days from the game and realize it's been 3 hours, I still don't begrudge that time because it's been
that's good.
fun.
Yeah. Russ, you're right. The game feels like it shouldn't take that long. The way they've streamlined everything back to our days from second edition, it seems way less granular. So you're right. It's a very weird time warp where you look up at turn 3 and you're like, how did 90 minutes go by already?
And I feel like it's the referencing material. Like if there was a better way to organize the material.
No, because that's been
feel
fixed
like-
with whatever. I don't even
Is it?
know which version of it's not Army Builder, but something out there I use, and it's
Okay.
easier. Somehow it just takes a longer time. But I agree with Craig. There doesn't seem to be a moment when remember in the days of 40K when you knew you lost, but you still had another hour to play.
You lost in turn 1 and you got to play 5 more turns.
It doesn't feel like that kind of long. So
Right.
you're always in it.
That's good.
So anyway,
So I play it again. In fact, Craig and I are about to play it in a week or so here with a friend. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about breaking them out and dusting them off again. I don't know. It doesn't, there's a lot of other options out there right now to me. And you know what it might be? It may be that it's too much nostalgia. Like for me, it's like, yeah, been there, done that, have the t-shirt. I'm ready to try other things. Which is weird because I'm still loving D&D, even though that's the same essentially, game so many years later. But I think the new edition is laudable. I think they did a good job with it, but it's just, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it more than nostalgia. That's for sure.
Oh, good.
All right.
Good.
Second question to myself. Craig's going to go last. Second question to myself. Russ, as you and I were talking about when I wake up in the morning and I get so pumped to play is Stellaris by Paradox Games. And,
oh, yes. I saw you playing that. Now, it's got middling reviews, Rafe, and I actually was in Steam the other day and I saw you playing it and I was like, ooh, Rafe's playing it. And then I was like, ooh, but Rafe's playing it. So like,
yeah, that's a good.
So I was trying to figure out because the reviews are middling. So what I couldn't figure out was, is this a great game or is playing, or is this one of those really weird games that just Rafe likes it because he's Rafe?
No, I think it's one of those games that does get the middling reviews. A lot of YouTube videos, if you watch those, they're really fans of the game. Here's where it gets the reviews. It gets the reviews that the mid game can be a bit of a drag, a bit of a slog. So Paradox keeps trying to fix that by putting more events and more stuff you can do in the mid game. But what I love about the game is it's basically what everybody loves about Civilization, but that I don't love about Civilization, which is I'm not a huge theme on the Rome, or the early Civilization type of thing. And I don't like turn-based. So this is it has an RTS feel to it where you're clicking your units and things like that. And it has I think it's a fun exploration type of game. So you have these like survey vessels and then you build up this fleet and the game lets you it does have a lot of Rafe elements. So the game lets you basically say, click a button with your fleets and be like, make me the best battleship I have with all the parts that I have. And it'll do that. Or you can handpick the guns, the turrets, the shielding,
Oh, that sounds cool.
the energy.
It sounds like my kind of game. I should
It
really try it out.
does.
right.
The fluff is fun. The music's fun. The graphics are fun. And I think I literally have like over 100 hours on record. I've played maybe 3 games soup to nuts. Here's another little Rafey part, which I do like. It is sim-like. Like I play it on a very low competitive setting. So it's almost like playing a space sim. There is combat, but I tend to win it because I've lowered the challenging factor of it. So it is like playing a space exploration sim versus worrying about combat and stuff, But you could easily crank the difficulty level up, and I bet you it would get a lot more challenging and things like that. So, and they keep putting out really fun expansions and just things to make it interesting. So I keep going back to that and I have a blast with it. Yeah, that's for sure.
Cool.
So I think you'd like it. And I think they're running sales, so you should take a peek at them.
Yeah, no, I know. I saw that, and I saw you were playing, and I was like, "Ooh, that does seem like my thing." So maybe you may have convinced me to try it.
Yeah, give it a whirl. I mean,
Right.
maybe don't give it a whirl if you don't have the next 20 hours to dedicate to it. Because
Is it a long? Well, I'm still in the middle of playing through BattleTech, which is amazing. So once I get through that, then I'll probably give it a try.
yeah, okay, cool.
All
All right, Craig. What is so that's my answer. Is things I'm dying to play is Stellaris. I still love playing HOTS. I wake up and I love to play HOTS, Heroes of the Storm. And then I would say my miniature game of today is
40K. You've come full circle, Granger.
Full circle. I still miss my
Now,
War
can I
Machine.
get you to the table of the War Machine? Because I'm jonesing to play you with.
Yeah, let's do that. The next
right.
time you and I are both available, let's just play War Machine because I still want
right.
to play War Machine. Love.
Also, I think I'd like to have Rose take a shot.
Oh yeah, that's right. We have a prediction in there, don't we?
We're supposed to do that. Yeah.
All right, let's make that happen too. That'll be fun. I'll come down, or maybe I'll come up, or we'll figure that out.
All right.
Okay. Craig,
Yes.
you have to pick one thing.
There's always these cold sweats that I break out in.
I know.
You'll be fine. Don't worry about it.
That in that tone of voice, Craig.
What could go wrong?
Yep.
Could go wrong.
Board game now, though. In the board game world,
Yes.
what has caught your fancy?
Nothing.
Really?
Oh yeah, I've had something of an epiphany, and that
do tell.
is I don't like long board games, which I think nobody is surprised to hear that knows me. But like when I'm seeing these,
I'm surprised. I don't believe you.
like, okay, give me an example of a long board game that I enjoy.
You enjoyed
like
the original Game of Thrones board game.
That's
The
true.
original Game of Thrones.
Oh, he's got you there.
No,
And
but how
Rune
many
Wars, the board game.
years? How many years has it been since I?
No, I'm just saying you haven't opened yourself to the possibility.
Oh, is that it? Okay, Vader.
Yes, you have closed yourself.
Oh, you're more
You
like
closed your spirit.
Palpatine.
Yes, you've closed your spirit. You need to open
I don't
yourself.
know. I mean, I don't have that much time now. If like
but
for
you're-
whatever
but you're-
reason, I don't mind. I love, in fact, when I know that I'm going to have a game, especially with someone I know, a 40K. I know
like a 3-hour 40K game you'll play,
hours.
but a 5-player game of like Game of Thrones, no way.
Yeah, I mean, Pete has been pestering me to play Game of Thrones for like 2 years now, and I'm always like, well, wait, let me show you the latest Kickstarted miniatures game instead. And I don't know why, except that's and
So why?
I don't know. I have a satchel. I have one of those recyclable satchels.
I have a satchel.
I have a satchel, Greg.
Grocery store.
I have a satchel.
And it's full of like my top fun fast games, and I've been carrying that around with me, especially at school. It's a very odd situation where the seniors are gone a week ahead of everybody else leaving, but you're not supposed to do any further curriculum. And so I'm like, okay, I have an acting class with now only 3 kids in it, and they worked really hard, unlike some of the other kids in it. And I'm like, well, we've cleaned everything up. We're all ready for next year. We've done everything, and we've got like a half hour here or there. And so I'm very impressed with them because I have a bag full of games, and we have now over the past like week and a half, actually, is what it's been between like senior activities and things like that, where they're just little holes in the in a field day. There was a field day where we could play board games.
Mm-hmm.
Where we've played pretty much every game in that satchel except for Bang the Dice Game and Tiny Epic Kingdoms.
Okay.
Bang the Dice Game mainly
Satchel
because
games.
mainly the Bang the Dice Game hasn't really come out. I think because I forced them to play Colt Express, and they loved that so much they were like, "Oh, that's another cowboy game. Yeah, let's play this one again." And the other one was Tiny Epic Kingdoms, and I think Tiny Epic Kingdoms might be a hard sell because it lacks a little bit of polish. Like when you're looking at Colt Express or Vikings on Board or Hex, which are some of the other games that are in there that all look really cool when you set them up, or just get a giant pile of cards to play with. And so I playing those fast, fun games that can be tactical and strategic and require a lot of thought. I mean, Vikings on board like is a very complex worker placement game, which is bizarre because that's not really in my wheelhouse. But at the same time, it's done in about 45 minutes.
Okay.
So,
All right. So
I don't know. It could be psychological. Russ could be right. I could be closing myself off from these opportunities. I don't know.
Energetically.
But
or you're really just like miniature games.
I really,
which is fine because I think I think what you're saying is you just
come
like
full circle. Actually,
yes, the circle is now complete.
The circle is now
complete. Yes,
has become the master or the student.
Well, no, it's more ways than one. I think there's an entire moment of closure occurring.
I agree.
I feel like because Rafe is back to 40K.
Yep.
And Craig is back to miniature games almost exclusively.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, no.
And so,
where's your circle of closure?
D&D.
Actually, I know what it is for you.
No, okay. What is it?
It's not. Your answer is invalid.
Yeah, your answer is invalid.
Okay,
it's your circle of closure.
What?
Welcome to the round table.
Yeah.
Oh,
Russ's
where your own answer is invalid.
Russ's circle of closure is actually the continuity of a straight line that goes into infinity, which is Russ has always been a poly gamer. He likes a lot of different games, and he's not afraid of it. He's not like Craig, where he's going to shun long board games. If Russ likes it, he likes it.
You're such a shunner.
Saying that Russ is polygamerous.
He's polygamerous,
right?
And so
right now,
he loves D&D to the exclusion of others. Not that he'll never.
That's not to the exclusion. I play everything.
Time-wise is what I meant. Like, it's captured your fancy. You're very excited about it, and so that's what hits the playing table. It's not that you don't love the other things, but like it could be in 2 months, like Descent captures your fancy again.
Well, it wouldn't replace. I've got a play group too, right? So like one of the challenges is like my Tuesdays are irregular, so I can't get it's been hard to get my play group back.
That happens as we get older.
Right. Yeah. But I'm still playing with, Craig is my play group now, so which is fine, which has been a blast.
Play group of fun.
That's right. But it's been mostly focused on miniature games. Now we have had I do have a small group of people that when I send an email out, they almost always jump in and we play a long strategy board game like Star Trek Ascendancy or something. Or we're like a 4X club. We all like 4X games. Mm-hmm. So that's good. I have that too. So you're right, Rafe. I'm definitely playing the field, as it were. But I guess that is the closure. I guess
full circle
is full circle. Yeah.
Okay, Russ.
Sure.
What is your Xbox predictions? What are your Xbox predictions?
Well, it's interesting about that because
I know that's why I'm asking.
Over the past year or so, I've become a pretty big proponent of the PS4 as well
with your game selections on Twitter.
Yeah. Now I like. Don't get me wrong. I love my Xbox, and if a game comes out on both consoles, it's always Xbox first for me. And full disclosure, I have a nice 4K television with HDR, and I have both the PS4 Pro and an Xbox One X plugged into it. So both of them are kicking butt. Both look equally great. It's just I like live in the community better on Xbox, and quite frankly, the achievement thing is still something
that wins you over.
Yes, that wins me. But
Dragon.
That said, there are a couple of games now on a PS4 that are really good.
There's lots.
Yeah, there's lots. But the few that I really into is the new God of War is off the charts. Also, the new Detroit Being Human, one of the most interesting gaming experiences and unique gaming experiences I've had in a long time. To the point where my daughters have both played it through, and it's one of these games where it's not really an action game or a Twitch game or anything like that. It's almost like a make your own adventure game. It's set in the not too distant future. Androids are everywhere. It's kind of like Westworld in the future. So these androids are and it's got kind of a social statement vibe going on there, where the androids are oppressed, and now it's time for them to revolt. And you're playing these different androids, and it follows a story of 3 different androids that you're kind of doing. But what's interesting about it is the game is full of choices. And as you finish each chapter, the game then summarizes all your choices and shows you the percentages of other people choosing the same choices. And it doesn't show you what would have happened, but the choices do lead to very different story components.
Sounds neat.
And my daughters have taken to solving the game. Plays in about 12 hours. So my oldest daughter played through it. She solved it. and she's insisted on watching her sister play through it so she could see all the different things she chose.
Yeah.
And now I'm playing through it. They're both watching it. My wife's getting into it. So it's a really interesting game.
I love all those titles.
But those are really interesting.
How much is a PS4 whatever these days if you don't have a 4K TV?
If you don't go for the Pro, if you go for a regular, I don't think it's that expensive. A couple $100.
And can you play these games that you're talking about? Could I play?
Oh yeah. You don't need the fancy high-end consoles to play all these games, right? So it just looks a little clean. But if you don't have the new television, it's not worth it because you won't be able to realize any of the new stuff. So there's some moderate things you get.
TV. So what do I get?
Just a PS4, regular PS4, regular PS4, not the Pro, just a regular one.
Okay,
should be about $200.
Yep.
And that'll be fine.
What do you think about the Switch? You want to say more? Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I'll talk about Switch. So my youngest daughter got a Switch for her birthday.
And tell people what the Switch is in case they don't know.
So the Switch is
Craig. Nintendo's you off like emailing and stuff. Got to pay attention.
Listen,
too lazy.
Okay,
I know.
Okay, because he's got a young son. So the Switch is actually the Switch is confusing to some people because it looks like the next Nintendo DS, but really it's Nintendo's current console. So the Switch is interesting. It's a large sized handheld with these two controllers that are like attached to the side, but they pop off. And there's a dock for this thing that you can pop it into, and then it broadcasts to your television. What's interesting about it is the two controllers, when they pop off, can become two mini controllers. So each person has one. And so you can play like those fighting games and stuff, and you can play it right on the Switch as if it was a television. Or the two controllers can lock together and become one larger controller, like a dual stick controller, like you have for an Xbox or PS4 for more advanced games. And games like Skyrim and stuff are already on there. So it plays quite a variety of games. Now, it doesn't have the graphic horsepower of a PS4 or an Xbox, but it looks pretty good. My youngest daughter, there's certain games she enjoys. It's kind of funny. The games I thought she was going to enjoy, she was not that interested in. Like Zelda didn't do anything for her. But she loves the Pokemon fighting game. And there was a brand new game that just came out on it. It was a really interesting little game. It was like an animated stick figure game. But it was a really, really interesting RPG set in the Old West. And she loved that. And one of the games, Kingdoms Discovered or something, Kingdoms Uncovered, is a bunch of different games. She's really enjoying like these simple but good, like a level up from iOS, but she's a huge Pokemon person. So as the new Pokemon games come out, so the newer Pokemon games will be on the Switch. It's a neat piece of technology. They're kind of missing a couple more. They need a slightly bigger library. And I think it's just starting to hit.
It'll probably come though with Sony. Yeah. Right? So,
well, not from Sony, but Nintendo will do more. So Nintendo will be doing stuff in the fall. I think the new Pokemon comes out this fall.
I've been thinking about getting it just to play Zelda again.
Yeah, the Zelda game is amazing. I've played it. I love it. I don't know why my youngest daughter doesn't like it. And my oldest daughter loves the Zelda game too. So my youngest has just got very interesting tastes. Like if you let her go, she'll just play Transfer Mice all day, which I still haven't figured out.
What's it called? Transfer Mice?
Transfer Mice.
What's that?
I don't understand this.
Is this an iOS game?
No, it's a Steam game.
Oh my!
It's very simple.
I'm getting it now.
Okay, you will be addicted. So it's funny. My oldest daughter and I constantly pick on my youngest daughter in a good-natured way that she's not really a game solver. Like she'll play a game, she'll dabble it, she won't solve it. But she will play Transfer Mice. A game of Transfer Mice, Rafe, just so you know, is done in about 2 minutes. This is a perfect random Rafe game. It's super short. And the idea is that there's these mice and there's this cheese, and you're trying to transfer the cheese from one spot to another. But one player is the shaman, and the shaman can do special things. And if you play games in a row, randomly one of those players is determined to be the shaman. And in some of these games, the shaman is trying to help the mice. And in other games, the shaman is trying to stop the mice. That's about as much as I've figured out in this game. It's super simple graphics. Doesn't require any kind of horsepower to play this thing. She plays it all the time. And there's this massive cult following. And I don't really understand the game beyond that. As a parent, I probably should try to understand more. But in any case... This is her jam. She'll play that all day. Now, she has like other more advanced games, but that's the one. Yeah.
Did I tell you guys that I got a Heroes of the Storm coach?
No.
What? Is that a thing?
Yeah. Craig,
how does that even work?
No.
How does that work?
Oh my God, it's awesome. So I went into this website called Gamer Sensei. I'm surprised Russ didn't figure this out. And it's a hub for gaming coaches. You can get an Overwatch coach. I got a Heroes of the Storm coach.
Do you pay for this?
Yeah, I paid for it. Yep.
And how much does it cost to have an Overwatch coach?
So it only cost me like $35. And I had 3.
And how long do you get coaching for?
3
3 1 hour.
or maybe it was even $15. It was
Now, do you feel like you learned something?
it increased my game ability tenfold.
Really?
Tenfold. Let me tell you about it. So I'm in the coaching world now, right? I'm doing business coaching, and
You are. Yes.
and
You're
I'm-
very. Yes.
yeah, and I've been getting frustrated with my heroes of the game. I'm at this wall. I could tell that I'm like, I don't know what I know. I'm doing something wrong, but I don't know what I'm doing. So I'm playing a tank character called Muradin, and I'm like, I'm going to search for a gaming coach. That's ridiculous. They probably don't exist. Nope, they do. So I go on this game. You can get them from Overwatch, all these other games, Call of Duty, all of it. So I pick a guy from his bio where he's not trying to train just the pros. He's like, teaches casual players. And then I get my first 1 hour. You just do it over Skype. And I get my first hour and I'm like, here's my problem. I'm like, I know my character, I know my abilities, but I don't think I do them right. And so he's like, well, let me see what you do. So he just like jumps in the session. We share screens and we play a game. And he's like, okay. So like tanks in MOBAs, they need to soak and do damage, right? So one of the things he taught me, which has been huge, is I knew during a certain phase of the game where there aren't any minions to squash, or there are minions to squash, but I'm really slow at killing minions. That's what DPS characters do. So I'm like, what am I supposed to do? And he's like, oh, forget those minions. Let the other people get those. What you want to do is give vision. Like, go forward in the map, because you're tough. You won't get ganked as easily, and you'll give your team vision. I'm like, oh my God, that's brilliant. So just from doing that, Russ, has increased my ability to be a tank through the roof.
Wow.
Just that one tip. And then he gives me other tips. Like, I'd be like, what am I doing now? I can tell that I'm not being effectual. Or I would say, there's these big mob fights. I never know when I'm supposed to jump out, because MOBAs are all about staying alive more than making a kill. It's better to stay alive than it is kill your opponent. And I'm like, I never know when I'm supposed to jump out. And he'd be like, okay, see where your man, he goes, when your health bar is really low and your mana bar is really low, that's when you go back to the thing they call the sippy cup, which is like near your fort and you can get more mana. He's like, but if just your health is low, your guy regens, so just run around. Don't use the sippy cup. I'm like, oh, okay. Right. So he just gave different metrics as to when to do different stuff. And it was amazing. Amazing. So much so that I play with Greg Ivany, whose player level is like 300. My player level is like 90. What that means is if I'm in a match with Greg, we get matched with people with player scores of 400, 200. Russ, these guys spank me. I mean, they just know what to do in every given moment. It's like you can't do anything. I was able to hold my own just from those few tips. So much so that Greg was like, wow. He's like, you've really improved. And he even saw the difference. Huh. So
that's $35 an hour or what?
No, that was for 3.
Craig's doing the math on that. I could be a painting coach.
No, that was for 3 or
terrain building coach, Craig.
Session.
I feel like there's an opportunity here.
Yeah, there's something there.
It was for 3 1-hour sessions. I haven't even done my third one.
Okay.
And the guy's from Germany. He speaks English, but he's from Germany, and he plays like professionally. So he plays like you can watch him on the like team matches and stuff.
So is this like a general coaching site? Could Craig go out there, sign up an account, and start teaching people how to do terrain?
I think it's just video games as far as I've seen.
All right.
I haven't delved into it. But if anybody's frustrated with their gameplay and I just wanted to do it because I got tired of losing matches all the time. And then it was really worth it. So I wanted to share that with you guys. And I have one last question for Craig.
All right.
I have this thing I've been doing on one of my business podcasts, which I'll talk about in the end. But we call it the non-Instagrammable moment. You know, so much in life we've got like, look at this and Facebook and this is me and Instagram and everything's great, but we don't share our lowlights. Gaming wise, do you have any non-Instagrammable moments gaming wise that you wish to share?
Well, first of all, I have had very enlightening conversations with my students lately, and I can tell you're doing Instagram wrong because you only have one profile, right? You only have one account.
I don't know. I'm not even on Instagram.
You're supposed to have Rinstagram, which is your real life, and Finstagram, which is your fake life. But oddly enough, Finstagram is where you put all your angst and your real actual anger and your frustration, and your Rinstagram, which is supposed to be your real life, is where you put all your nice, happy, polished stuff. So there's no such thing as a non-Instagrammable moment, because you put it on your Finstagram, which is your Instagram, but your real Instagram life, as opposed to Instagram. So right there, your premise is off.
I'm already doing.
I feel like I could learn so much from you, Craig.
Exactly.
Yes. This should be a coachable thing, Craig. This is what you could coach on.
Relate to teenagers. I don't know how to do it, but I'm learning all the lingo. Okay, so what's the question? Is there
what is your non-Instagrammable gaming moment that you're willing to share?
Like recently?
Whatever.
Or in history?
You can pick.
I used to get a lot more frustrated when I play, and now I'm sharing, Russ, so please don't jump in and overshare for me.
Sure. Like you don't mention a tape measure moment or anything.
Because Russ was there for all of these. So yeah. Thank you, Russ. Thank you for proving that my concern was legitimate. Okay.
I got your back.
So, you certainly do. With
$35 an hour, I can mention more.
In your hand.
It's $10 an hour.
Oh, $10 an hour. Sorry.
Right.
Well, this is high value, Rafe. I think we should up it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, there are other coaches that charge more. There's a wide range.
Yeah, I feel like I'm at that level.
Oh, you are.
So a long time ago, long before the podcast ever came out, we're talking like around 95, when everybody was coming back from college and graduate school and like sort of reconnecting. I didn't have a lot going on because I was teaching and playing games, and that was pretty much it. So the games mattered, I think, way more than they should have. And I have a couple moments where, and my luck was no better then than it is now. And of course, we've proven mathematically that my luck is awful with dice. So I would have a moment where, everything's put together, and I've been spending millions. That was back when my reputation for painting really started, and terrain making, because I was just putting, hundreds of hours into these armies, and everything would go horribly wrong for me. And I had in my head the idea, like, oh, this army is set to, so I used to design my armies around like one really cool moment. And if that cool moment happened, it didn't matter whether I lost or won. If the cool moment happened, that'd be great.
Yeah, I remember that now.
But if the cool moment didn't happen, or like I rolled a 1 for that cool moment, I would get really angry. I would, like, under my breath, I would swear a lot, but it would be under my breath. But there were moments where I would say I gently placed a tape measure at an angle, and my arm jerked a little bit
towards my head.
I did not ever throw something at your head. It bounced. It may have bounced, and it wasn't. I was never angry at people. I was angry at the dice. And
that's true. That's true. You're angry at the dice,
right?
Right.
Or Russ if he's poking the bear. But that's right. That's something else entirely.
You know who else is able to poke the bear, which is awesome to watch, is Dave.
Dave's better at it than Russ.
He is actually.
Because Russ has some modicum of decency that holds him back. Usually, when you're dealing with Kid Russ, which is what we call him when he gets all sweary, then all bets are off. And it's weird because it's random. You have no idea what kind of day Russ had.
Yeah, that's true. You never know.
99 out of 100 days, you're getting Dak a mouse, and everything's great, and gaming is awesome, and the world is nice and shiny. But that 1 out of 100 days when you get Kid Russ, and it's just like, F this, F that, F the other thing. But it's always with
and he never projects it. You can't tell.
No idea what you're watching.
Was it Russ or was it Dave that, Craig, one time you were complaining and you're like, see, it's not you, Russ or Dave. It's just the dice. I'm not having any fun. And then it was either Russ or Dave who was winning goes, well, I'm having fun.
Oh, that was me. I remember that one. That was me. I'm having fun. Right. Well, I was. So
I don't mean to take anybody else's fun away from them.
That's really good.
That's not my purpose.
That's classic.
Yeah.
Well, that's classic. Okay. That brings me back to the when you're talking about accidentally chucking a tape measure. That brings me back to Russ's way to stop anybody from saying the rules don't say I can't do fill in the blank.
Where Russ got that from?
Yes.
Russ used to say, well, the rules don't say that I can't pick up your model and throw it at your chest. So that doesn't mean I can do it.
Right. Well, I hate that logical fallacy. So you need a good argument for that.
Those are some good times. That was all during 40K.
That was, yeah, many years.
Okay. Russ, do you have a non-Instagram moment you want to share?
I have many. So yeah, there's moments when there are moments, and sometimes they're new, but once in a while I get into a rules debate and I can't let it go. And so I should let it go, but I don't let it go. And so when it happens, then I know I get annoying and I can't stop myself. I get hung up on it. And later I realize it was stupid, but in the moment, I get very,
he needs an intervention.
I do. I should have like a safe word or something to shut me down, and I don't. So I just go.
Russ,
and it's really bad if I think I know I'm right, because then I just go on forever.
Yeah, that's hard.
If I'm uncertain, then you're usually safe. It's if I'm certain, and for some reason you're not willing to give either, and then it gets messy.
Yep.
Or I'm wrong, but I'm certain I'm right. That's the other one that gets me in trouble.
That's probably the worst case scenario.
Which is the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
So I think I've gotten better at that over the years, but it's still once in a while it still happens, and it's definitely not Instagrammable.
Some of us have learned in that moment to just step back, because
it's like he's doing his thing,
self-assess, and be like, okay,
give him a minute.
And as long as it's not a Kid Russ moment, then you're going to be fine.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But God forbid those two moments coincide.
All right. Well,
Raef, thank you for guiding us through.
That's all I've got for Raef's Roundtable. Unless somebody has something they're just dying to say that I didn't ask in the last minute or two. I don't.
No, I think we're in good shape. Well, Raef, thank you, and we'll take a break here. We'll hear from Total Fangirl. I'll have more right after this.
This is Total Fangirl. Regular Jane most days, Total Fangirl when the moment strikes. Han shot first. Starbuck is a guy. And Lestat, now there's a vampire. Hey everyone, this is Nicole, your Total Fangirl. You can follow me on Twitter at Nicole Wakelin and check out everything I'm up to over at NicoleWakelin.com. Our shout out is to all of our wonderful supporters over at Patreon. Head to patreon.com/the D6 Generation, and you too can support the show. So speaking of shows, we were trying to find good shows to watch. We were running out of them. Like, we ran into that spot where everything you're watching is like taking a break, or you're completely caught up, or we were watching series on Netflix. That was another big thing me and my younger daughter were doing, watching all these old sci-fi shows. And like, we went through all the seasons of all the things, and I was drawing a blank. Like, I couldn't think of any shows to watch. Like, I'm sure there are dozens of them out there that I could have suggested, but my brain was like, I don't think I've ever seen one before. Like, I couldn't think of anything. So we were randomly like looking, trying to find a show, and we found the show called The 3%. And it's a Spanish language show. It's not in English. So they have it dubbed, which can sometimes be hilariously awkward because the mouths don't match the words. And which makes it a little bit like hokey too. Like, it's not the best job, but it's this really neat show. And I started watching with Kit, and I said, Kit, you've never watched a show that wasn't in English before. Do you want to try this? And she's like, wait, do I have to read words all the whole time? Because we'll do other stuff as we're watching shows. No. It's not subtitled, it's dubbed. So it'll be American or English speaking actors, but for the voices, but the actual people on the screen are speaking Spanish. So if you look at it, it feels like disjointed. She's like, okay, I'll give it a go. We're totally into this. And it's slightly cheesy, which sometimes makes for fun television, but it's like slightly cheesy. And the premise of this whole thing that we're still trying to wrap our head around, we're only a few episodes in, but Kit is like loving it, is this idea that these people sort of live, it kind of looks almost like post-apocalyptic, like life is not very good, but 3% get chosen to go to this separate spot that's like, amazing. But you have to go through all this testing, like this psychological and physical and emotional testing to finally make it to be one of the 3% of the population that gets to go to the happy place, the happy island. And there's a certain point, it looks like, I'm going to say when you're like 18, 19, somewhere in there, that's when you first get to try this. So it's all these like late teens, maybe early 20s, that are all sort of competing together, but then they have to work together, and then sometimes they have to work against each other, and then whether or not they're cheating and whether or not the system is rigged. It's actually really kind of a cool show. And then last week it got really bloody. Like it became like Lord of the Flies and I said to Kit, have you read this book yet? She said, no. I said, this is like a scene out of Lord of the Flies where all of a sudden everyone takes control, and did they really mean for that to do that? And there's the good bunch and the bad bunch. Now Kit's all about reading Lord of the Flies. So we found a new show that I'm betting maybe none of you have watched. If you have, I'd be curious, let me know. But if you're looking for kind of an interesting little sci-fi kind of like post-apocalyptic thing, and how people get chosen to be in the best place and what they have to do to get there, 3%. So there you go. There's my completely randomly found show that is now having me watch something for the first time in ages that is actually dubbed because it's Spanish. There you go. Have a good one.
Hey, now it's time to talk about our friends at Geek Nation Tours. Of course, Terrace is on the show this time around. So, of course, you've already heard him talk. You can tell how passionate he is about geekdom and, of course, getting you guys out and about around the world and all the great stuff. You really can't miss out on these great tours. Gen Con 2018 tour is coming up. Don't want to miss out on that one. Fantastic stuff. I really want to go on the Essen Spiel tour. I mean, Rodney from Watch It Play goes with them every time. It's just fantastic. And these are great events. These are the kind of events where you go out there, you're traveling with people that are, as I like to say, there are people, right? They're gamers. They're folks out there that love to nerd out on stuff like old Battlefields and The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings and where Game of Thrones was filmed and where the different Star Trek locations were filmed, and just you name it, they do it at Geek Nation Tours. And really the absolute best way to understand all the opportunities that are available to you, head on over to geeknationtours.com, click on the Tours button, and there you will see just great images of the little Geek Nation Tours logo done up in all the various scenes that are going to make you understand the passion behind the game, the tours here. I really want to do the Christmas Krampus tour out in Germany there. That looks just fantastic as well. I mean, so many great tours. I want to do them all. Terrace, take me next time, please. So anyway, if you're looking to get out there, see the world and all it has to offer in its geeky goodness, head on over to geeknationtours.com.
You're listening to the Dice Tower Network at dicetowernetwork.com. More fun than Merchant of Venus. Wait, what? Who writes these?
Hey, welcome back. And now we have a big announcement we have to make.
That was very clever. That was very clever. The big announcement.
I like it.
Well, I feel like it's a big announcement. Don't you feel like
it's a big announcement? I'm just saying. I mean, you could have, I don't know.
I like
it's
it.
Okay.
Right to the point.
Well, right.
I'll allow it.
I think we got to cut right to the chase on this. So, we've been, I don't know how else to say this. So we're just going to come out and say it. We've been doing the show for 10 years now, Craig.
It's been over 10 years, Russ. It's been 10 and a half years.
10 and a half years. And I think at this point I have mixed feelings about this, quite frankly, but it's time for the D6G to morph into whatever its future form is going to be. That's right. So as we think about this, and I think we're going to talk about this now for a little bit, what that future form might look like. But I think we have to think about changing. Well, I know Trey and I have talked a lot about this, and our lives have changed quite a bit since the show started.
Things are different.
And so we're at a stage now where we can't really, unfortunately, do the show the way we used to do it. And so we're going to have to take a look at different ways we can still have the D6G community and do cool things.
Yep.
But I don't think we can do the show the way we used to do it going forward.
Right.
Yeah. And so that's kind of where we are right now. And it's a bummer. It stinks because we love doing the show. We love interacting with everyone out there.
It's not come too easily. I don't want anybody thinking we were like cavalier about this.
No.
Very difficult, and it still is difficult. But that is why we don't want to just fade completely into the sunset. We all of us together have created a great community, and we don't want to just let that go.
Right.
All right, wait.
So
I'm going to be the third chair listener here. So
yeah, you should.
Are you guys saying the show's over and the community's here, or you're morphing it into the Craig and Russ cartoon version of the D6G?
Cartoon version. We're going to be chibi. We've gone chibi now. No, I think we can't do the 3 to 4 hour podcast every 2 weeks the way we used to, and so we're still trying to think of ways.
Trust me, I hear you there.
Yeah, so we're still trying to think of ways we can do some form of monthly content. There's been new opportunities that are coming to us, and I'll be able to share more of those in the coming months. But we just can't really do what the D6 generation is today now.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean we won't occasionally do just an achievement segment and throw it out there, or there'll be different kinds of podcasting content. I know Craig's got some interesting ideas, so he can share those too. But the D6G as an entity will still exist in some way. But I think the podcast, unfortunately, that everyone knows and hopefully loves
and recognizes
is gonna be that format. This format that's been going on for 10 years of 2 episodes a month, basically 3 to 4 hours long. That format's going away, and so we're trying to figure out now what we can still do to keep that coming. And Shay's making some comments in here, and I know this is a tough. I mean, this is a really hard decision for Craig and I to come to, and it's really based on, I look at how much time I have with my kids before they move out.
It goes very fast, Russ.
It's going fast, and the amount of time I have with my job and where I am with my career and how that's it's very successful, but pulls a lot of my time away too. And so I have to kind of think about work-life balance as well. But I still love the community. I love all you guys out there. I love interacting with you. I love hearing from you. I love seeing you guys at the conventions. And so I'm still trying to think of ways I can be involved in the gaming community, but I just can't commit to what the D6 generation has been. And I'd rather change what we do while it's still really well liked and is a cool thing, than just sort of get sloppy about it, only do it every other month, and miss shows and things like that. Cause I don't think that serves you, our listeners, well. And it's not the kind of thing that Craig and I want to produce. Is that fair, Craig?
Yeah. I mean, the key is that we've been doing this for so long, and we always want to do it at a certain level, and we're finding it extremely hard to do it at that level at this point. Mm-hmm. And we don't want the quality to, like, as Russ said, I mean, we want what we do continue to do to be as high a quality and not too horrible as we feel we were at our highest point, I guess. Right.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah. I think that's well said, Craig.
Yeah.
I think we're still going to, and I think one of the things we talked about, Craig, was like, can we still, produce fun things for our patrons? Can we still do fun things for the folks out there who enjoy what we do? And so we've talked about different things, right? Like, I would like to do I would still love to have Raef back on in December and do just this, maybe the 1 hour predictions episode.
I was thinking that, actually. I think that's a great idea.
Right. So what you might find is we'll still do content, different things. And Craig's talked about maybe doing something with some of his stories and making audio content there. And I don't want to steal your thunder, Craig. You can talk about that, but there's ways we can still produce interesting content that I think people will enjoy. Maybe we do an achievements once every couple months. We just come out and do it and talk about what we've been playing lately. I think that still could be things that happen. But the current amount of production we do, we just unfortunately can no longer sustain. So we want to pivot the way we do things a little bit.
Yep.
Right. Yep. And as Russ said, we want to try to continue with the community and keep things going that way and keep in touch. So as Russ was saying, I'm going to try to, I have a lot of things going on right now. I just sold a book that I already wrote, and I sold a book on spec that I have to write. And I'm managing this major project for Winged Hussar now that is super, super, super exciting. And at the same time, we've got our top secret project that Russ and I are working on. And I've always got all these little things that I'm doing too. So at some point, I want to try my hand at narrating.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
I want to put together maybe little short snippets of things and narrate those and drop those as some content. The key is we can't do the 4 hours every other week. The commitment between the commitment, and then on top of that is Russ and I have all these great ideas, but we don't have the time to do them. We are doing. I think I speak for both of us when I say that what we are doing right now is the sum total of our available bandwidth, right? And that bandwidth is shrinking every few months, and we're still trying our best to do the basic stuff we're doing, and yet that's not really enough to really feel fulfilled. We want to branch out. We want to have other cool stuff. We feel like we keep dropping the ball whenever we try to do something neat because it goes beyond the bandwidth, and we think we can do it, and then it ends up slipping through the cracks because of this lack of time and energy and resources that we have available to us. So if we can pull back, if we can put our focus on the things that are energizing us, that are keeping us interested and involved, then I think these things that we can do better, right? And removing that pressure from of this regular. I mean, if you think about it, Russ and Raef, I mean, we've been doing 2 episodes a month for years, right?
Oh, you two are workhorses. There's no doubt about it. And the 3 of us were back in the day.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we've missed an episode, once or twice, and with year. I mean, that's craziness. 4 hours every other week for that long is just the pressure mounts. And this is a decision that Russ and I came to a few months ago, and I've already felt the pressure off of me, and I know that it saved me. I mean, I just spent a whole heck of a lot of money on Legions. I mean, but I had saved up for me a crazy amount of money, because I'm not like, oh God, what's the next game going to be? I got to put what's going to the game go? I relaxed. I took some time with my with the drop fleet stuff. I really enjoying the Legion stuff. So I think it's also going to be an opportunity for us to kind of get back to basics. And Kelly, who will use their Jedi mind tricks to get me to spend so much money on new games. Well, it's funny you should ask, because none of this is all now freeform. We're all kind of like spitballing here. But one of the things that Russ and I have talked about is how much we enjoy doing achievements. And so that might be something that we can do every now and then, maybe once every month or once every other month, where we can keep in touch with you guys and tell you what we've been playing and what we're enjoying. And kind of like, I mean, we're still going to talk and chat, and it's not going to be that hard to record it every now and then. Right.
Right. And I think that's the key. So, because one of the things too we ran into when we talked about our third chairs, like the third chair was a great opportunity for us to meet new people in the community, meet these amazing game developers. And we've built great friendships with some of these people over the years, Steve Bonacore, Terrace, Owen, so many great memories there, but also it's a lot of work to schedule those things and make them happen.
Yes.
And that was always, in the back of our minds too, like, okay, let's schedule the next person. Let's get them online. Oh crap, we got to move a date because, someone's got a vacation coming up or whatever. How do you scramble to get that done inside the month? And so removing that pressure as well, and making this a little more like, let's just do achievements this month, and maybe, we'll do a little audio content, or maybe we'll, share a rule sheet that we're doing for one of these games we're playing, or maybe we'll do, that kind of thing. I think there's different ways you guys can keep in touch with us, and we can keep in touch with you, and you'll know what we're playing and you'll know what we're excited about. But unfortunately, it's going to be a lot less content. And, but I think the other thing that's changed over the 10 years is, when we started this, there weren't really, there were no podcasts that were general miniature gaming podcasts at all. There were very few podcasts, and they were focused on either, there's a general board gaming podcast like the Dice Tower, but for miniature gaming, there was really like Podhammer and a couple game specific ones, but there was no, like, where would you go to learn about Malifaux if no one had built a podcast for it?
And just a less cluttered landscape too. Like
it was, there's a lot of people doing this now, and you can get great content from these folks. So I don't think we're leaving a hole in terms of being able to get game reviews and understanding what the new hotness is. I think more what it's interesting might be is parts of what the show that people I still think are excited about is like achievements and things that are just like, Craig and my personal takes on things. Yeah, and we'll try to still have that stuff available in some form or fashion as we go forward.
Yep. And we're not going away immediately. We've got a few episodes left those of you who have been paying attention, although sadly we've had some scheduling issues and some confusion over what was going to happen at the end, we have a couple episodes left, and then our big final episode is going to be our Gen Con play by mob, where we are kind of hoping that we'll have a bunch of people showing up there. I think we're probably going to have a really epic prize pile, I think.
Yes.
Yes. And so I think I know there's a lot, because it's scheduled at 8 a.m, which at the time was like, oh, Russ, what have you done? But is now really turning out good, I think, because it means there's going to be a lot less conflict. And so a lot of our industry friends are going to try to make it. So we're going to really try to make that a really big epic send off for the.
I will be there as well.
Yeah, Rafe will be there. Nicole will be there. And so the plan is we're going to have episodes like normal through the first episode of August. So there'll be the episodes in June. There'll be 2 episodes in July. All the lost chapters will still be there. Another thing that's a lot of fun, too, is I really got one of the things that changed recently that I really enjoyed is I love the lost chapters that we do with just the movie reviews. Yeah. Like the movie reviews and the TV show reviews, those are so great because it really is like sitting down.
That's just what we do anyway. Yeah.
And we do it anyway. And there's no prep. Right? Like doing a game review, I actually love our long form game reviews. It's one of the things that I really like about doing the podcast, but it's a crap ton of work.
Yep.
Right? Sit down, figure out all the elements of the game, break it all down. Like it feels great when it's done, but it's
not only that, you have to figure out when to play it, when's it going to air on the show, make sure back in the day the 3 of us were available to do it, all that.
And I don't want this to be a complaining session either,
but it's not complaining.
But it really is. I mean, it dictates your entire gaming life, really, doing it this way, the way we've been doing it. So now we're gonna try to make it more. And one of the things we experimented with too a little bit at Adepticon was we did sort of a live game review while we played. Yeah.
And the reason I wanted to experiment, we got mixed reviews on that, so I'm still thinking about how to do that. But the reason I like that format is that allows me to create podcasting content without finding extra time for it, right? Like I'm playing the game on my gaming night anyway. So if the people playing the game with me don't mind me pausing a few times during the game and ask them how they're doing and what they think of the game and how that happens, I'm still passionate about playing new games. That's just who I am. That's partly for the show drives me, but mostly it's because I just like to play new stuff. So
that's right.
So I'll still keep doing that, and I'll try to find that kind of content. So between that kind of stuff and achievements, that's the kind of stuff you can expect. It'll still be there. The Twitter feed's not going away. The Facebook page is not going away. We'll still be posting our pictures of what we're painting right now, and we'll still be going to conventions. We hope to see you guys at Gen Con. We hope to see you guys at Adepticon next year. Those things will still probably happen. It's really just we got to change a little bit of not a little bit. We really have to change the amount of content we're putting out because it's just too much.
Too much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Russ, what's your favorite memories from the past 10 years?
Oh, geez. It's hard to say. I think when we first launched and finding that people actually cared about what we were doing was really touching and impactful. But the most touching things when we started getting the emails from folks who were having tough times, either they were stationed overseas in the military and it was just they were missing their family back home and they're missing their gaming or whatever, or they were someone in a hospital for a while and they couldn't see their family or their friends, and listening to our show helped them. Those moments, I don't know how to describe how motivating and exciting that is and how touching that is, but those were the things that I'll always remember as it makes me very proud and humble of what we were able to accomplish here. Because just to know that we were able to be a positive impact on somebody's, life that way, just by sitting around and talking about games for a few hours, really is something that I'll always cherish. And I'm really appreciative those people took the time to let us know how that was helpful to them, because it really meant a lot to me.
Yeah, well said. Yeah. Craig, how about yours? If you had to pick one.
If I had to pick one. I always go back, Rafe, to that first Gen Con where just you and I went out.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember exactly where I was when I fielded that phone call about the opportunity that we had to go out there and the completely unrealistic expectations that I had, like, oh my God, we're going to go there. We're going to have a booth. And what I had never really been to an actual game convention except for, what is it used to be called? What did it, Captain Con used to be what? Oh, this is ironic that I can't remember.
Temple Con.
That's ironic right there. That had been the first convention I'd been to in years and years and years and years and years. And so when you and I got there and just the sheer size of the vendor hall and all the different things going on, well, now Kelly, you're just trying to make us feel bad. Now my favorite part was when we were able to help Kelly. You're killing me here. Okay, you know what? I'm going to change it. It's all of the emails we get from people who thank us for what we're doing.
That's what Russ said.
It's the servicemen and women, the people who like have gone through really difficult times. Is that what Russ said too? I don't know. I'm kind of like, I got thrown for a loop there, but that's really, those emails and those conversations that occur are probably the things that I'll remember most because they're bizarre to me that I could possibly give anything of value to these people who are going through these difficult times. But I'll take it at face value.
See, for me, I expected that. I knew the sunshine of my personality would really raise people's spirits.
Well, you've done that everywhere you go. So
yeah, exactly.
Oh my God.
I basically, those like emojis with like unicorns and like rainbows shoot out their butt. That's me. Basically.
Yeah,
that's you. Yeah, that's true.
Except it's a squirrel. But other than that, no. For me, I would say it would be the friends and the connections that we've made. Mm-hmm. Too many to list, and I'm so dreading. I don't want to list a whole bunch and then forget our favorite one.
That's why I'm not listing.
Don't list any names. It's just
I saw you try to do that on the notes, and I was like, I'm not going there.
But it's true for me, like real personal connections where I've been to people's houses and my kids have met their kids. And I mean, the two biggest I'd bring is, Doc is, you've heard me talk about Doc before, but I'll just never forget the day he walked up to me in Gen Con. He's like, hey, how's it going? I'm like, oh, good. What's up? He's like, I'm a bankruptcy attorney too. I listen to the show. I'm like, great. And poof, a friendship was born, and that never would have happened but for the show. And of course, there's tons of other people we've met at cons and conventions and stuff. And then it just happened again with again, my local friend Sean now, who's become a new friend, all because of the show. And so that, I think that's my fondest memory. If I had to pick one.
I think the friends are the meeting people. I think what changed for me was going to conventions for the convention, like for the content of the convention, has pivoted to going to conventions to see those people that I've become close to because of this show.
Right.
And it is too many to name, but there are some really unique ones. Like when Owen first started talking to us, Owen Staten, who lives in Wales. My family went to 2 summers ago. My family went to Ireland. And I was like, hey, Owen, we're going to be near Wales. He's like, stop by my house, say hello. And we got to spend a day with I'd never met Owen in person, spend an entire day with this guy and his family. He took us into, Cardiff and showed us around all the places where things were filmed for Doctor Who and everything. It was like amazing. Showed us a bunch of local things, took him to his favorite restaurant. Like it was wonderful. And then we were going to Disney World. He was going to Disney World. We happened to be there at the same time. Ran into him again. Next summer, he's like, hey, I'm going to Disney this time. We're going to try to coordinate. Like our two families have become friends because of this. And there are so many things like that it's hard to quantify that. But that's really what it reminds me of, just is how much of a small community this really is, and how really, most gamers have the same values and we just want to hang out and have a good time. And I think that's great. And I think it tells you that people are the same all over the world, and we just want to have fun and relax and, take a break from all the crazy that is the real life. And I think that's been something that's really been impactful for me. So it's really hard to quantify that in any way, but it was just, that was the best. That's part of the best part.
Yeah, I agree. So what happens with Patreon?
Well, I think we're still going to produce content. I think what we're going to do is we're going to, some of that content will be free, and some of that, all of it will. Well, I don't know, Craig. I mean, what we'll do exactly, but that content will be sponsored by Patreon still. So, like anyone else, if we're producing an achievements, or Craig's producing a short narrative, or we're sharing some rules for something or whatever, they became some homegrown campaign system or whatever. Those will be things that we'll publish, and we'll publish them probably through our website and through Patreon. And so the folks who still want to support those activities, their little tips go to those sorts of things. So you'll still be supporting content. It'll just be probably slightly different content and shorter content. And so if you still think it's good value, then you can keep your pledge as it is. If you think it's great, but maybe not quite as much, you can make your pledge smaller. You can decide that based on what happens and where this goes.
And who knows how many things are going to drop. So we would highly recommend, we're going to look at a bunch of different options. I mean, one might be really recommending that people pay attention to the limits they set for their monthly limit, because we don't want to be, dropping 8 little things, and then the next thing you're giving a little bit more than you intended.
That's a good point.
We'll warn you about that too.
But you know what? Considering the patrons, if you've been thinking of becoming a patron, and you have been putting it off, if you want to be a patron for these last few episodes, your time is running out. So jump on there now.
Well, also, I don't think the old content's not going anywhere, right? So the episodes will still be out there. The lost chapters will still be out there. So for access to those, you'll still want to be a patron, but we still want to have new things that you can tip us for. So whatever that form will be that stuff.
Yeah.
So that's still a part of the goal. And that'll help us get to those conventions and things, but I want to make sure the content's interesting,
right,
and worth your dollar, or whatever. Yeah. So we'll keep to make sure that's whatever that is, we'll work that out.
And Russ, what's in your future, gaming or not, that you want to share? Like, what are you going to do with all your quote free found time?
Well, I really want to make sure. So one of the things is my kids, for the non-gaming part, my kids are at an age now where I want to start doing, in addition to travel for them, which I've been doing for a while now, I want to start doing shared learning with them. So one of the things that I think helped me a lot as a teenager was going through and, learning computer programming on my own, and my dad would help me with that. And my daughters are interested in cognitive intelligence and artificial intelligence, and there's some great dev kits out there that you can learn yourself. So I want to do some of that with them. It'd be good for me. It'd be good for them. It'd be kind of a good, bonding thing, and also help them, with some learning. But then also I do want to do more gaming as well. And I would love to do more campaigns and things. And I think what sort of happened for me is the commitment to the show has required I can't do as much of those kinds of things also. So I'd like to do a little more of that as well. And maybe if there's a way I can turn some of those sorts of things into content, that might be fun. Right. But that's really, I'm trying to pivot my gaming stuff to be, can I play the game and can that be content for,
still two birds with one stone, as they say.
Yeah. Can I still share what I do? If you find that interesting, if you guys find that interesting out there, is sharing that still an effective way to do sort of what we used to do, but, not have the show take away from my gaming time, but be additive to it, make it a more rich experience. So I want to try to figure that out if I can. I'm not sure I know the answer to that yet, but I kind of want to experiment there.
Yeah. How about you, Craig?
Well, I really kind of try to ramp up my writing. So I'm going to launch a website that I'm going to try to focus more on than that blog that I've been really neglecting for years, and trying to keep that focused. So here will be my game stuff, on Patreon or our webpage or wherever that lands. I'm going to have a writing website where all my writing stuff will be. I'm hoping I've got there's some things going on at Fantasy Flight. I'm looking forward to working with them again. I'm neck deep in Winged Hussar right now, which is excellent and exciting. I am working on, like I said, a big project for them where I'm actually creating and curating a world. It's going to be a shared world for multiple writers, so that's going to be fun. That's not tied to any game, because I'm sick of putting all this time and effort in and then seeing, these books go away because the game goes away, or somebody new don't want that particular storyline anymore or whatever. So, I mean, just think about all the 40K writing that I did, right? And that game system is dead. So It's like, ouch. And so it's going to be very exciting for me to put my focus on fiction and fiction that I'll be working on with other people that isn't tied to game system. So that's going to be a lot of where I put my focus. And my son, Reese, is ridiculously busy now.
Oh yeah.
Having that right now, he's doing basketball and baseball and 2 different camps and Cub Scouts, and so I want to be as involved in all that as I can, rather than just be like dropping him off at these places and then rushing him to bed, because I can't tell you the number of times that I've thrown food into my son's mouth and then thrown him into bed and really cheated on reading a bedtime story so that I could rush down here and record. And
and as they get older, their stuff gets later in the day,
exactly,
which makes it even harder.
Yeah. And so if I had to say one thing that I'm genuinely relieved and glad about, it's going to be that pressure will be gone with trying to rush my son to bed, because he's old enough now. 8 o'clock's kind of a little early for him quite often, to be honest.
Right.
And so and I don't have a choice, because that night is also a night where Karen is off working. So so that's my focus is going to be more on being, and I'm there, 6 days a week, and 7 days a week and 6 nights a week also. So it's not like I'm ignoring him, but it's just going to be nice and more relaxing.
Yeah, you don't have that like you just described. That's not fun on any night.
Exactly, precisely. Yes. Yep.
For me, it's not like I'm gaining any more time. But actually, what's kind of interesting for me is as my practice is changing, I'm focusing on doing more daily workshops presently, which are pretty good. None of this is internet based, but it's daily workshops for my work, and starting a master class for coaching, and the law practice is still humming along. And like you said, it's like at nighttime, a lot of time can be a time where I can catch up when the day gets really busy. So that's kind of what I've been doing. My kids are a little bit older too. It actually gets a little easier. Like Lou's now 17. He has his own car. He's got a girlfriend. So he's in that phase where if you see him like once every 3 nights, you're lucky. He's working. It's actually gotten easier, and Emmy's getting a little older. So I'm looking forward to being able to set just game on some Tuesdays more myself. I had taken myself out of the loop just for laziness. I was like, I don't want to drive for 45 minutes or whatever. So it's been fun to get back into gaming on Tuesday nights and to see you guys again and see everybody else, and Ryan and Dave and everybody, and Matt, Alex and Stino and Ian and Greg and all the people. So that's what's keeping me. Oh, and if for some reason people want to hear the dulcet tones of my voice, I have a work podcast I do. It's called the 1-to-1 podcast with Rafe Granger, and we talk to entrepreneurs, and it's their origin story, why they want to do. I actually want to get, you'll have time now. I want to get Russ on the show. I want to get Craig on the show as a writer. The premise is you might have started out as a biology major, but then ended up as a hang glider maker or something like that. So
fun. I'm in. Sign me up, coach.
Yeah. So it's pretty good. It's starting to get some traction. But boy, so now I'm back into throws. I'm just now debating, being like, do I want to do one every other week, or what do I want to do? So it's funny where you guys are ending that. I'm like starting one up, but they're not as long. I mean, these aren't 4-hour mega episodes, and I'm not doing every one with a guest, because, oh man, that's how I started, was trying to find the entrepreneur guest. And I ran right into what you guys talked about, which is,
it's a lot of work.
The guest canceled. Well, that throws everything else off, or.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I've been up to, and I'm looking forward. I'm going to go to Gen Con, which I'm looking forward to. I want to go back to Adepticon. I want to play some more War Machine. I want to keep playing 40K. I like being able to play board games that we just want to play now, and so that's my story.
Yeah. So the thing to take away from this is it's not an end. It's more of a new beginning. We are shifting what we're doing, though, a bit. So it's not goodbye. It's just we're going to change. And there is, 3 more after this episode, full-on regular D6G episodes. There's 2 coming in July, plus 1 more coming in August. So you got more of those. And as those come along, I think we'll firm up what the early stuff will be. And so maybe Craig and I will have a few more things to share about some of the net new things we'll be trying and how we're going to pivot this as we think about it a little bit more.
There are some pretty cool things maybe. So
Yeah, and I can't wait to share that. So there are some cool
Are you
things.
guys going to
some
share
cool-
that in the show? Like, can listeners expect to hear this, or is that a separate announcement? I don't mean
hope
today.
it
I
might
mean
be
in the future.
I don't know. I have to.
we'll know
part
more.
of we'll know more soon.
Okay.
We're still in the process of developing it. I mean, some of this is Craig mentioned it earlier. There were some interesting opportunities for us that we can't pursue because we're basically maxed out on what we can do right now. And so by pivoting this a bit, it allows us to try some other things that might be fun also. So we'll see how that goes too. So it's definitely not goodbye. It's just change.
Yeah.
And we'll see where this lands us. But I'm excited to see where it goes. But I'm also sad because, there were some special things that happened here over the last 10 years, and it's tough to say goodbye to that. So it's a bittersweet change.
I mean, I even feel that too. I mean, not being part of the main show for I don't know how many years, 5 years or whatever it is. I even feel a little sad. So I can't imagine what you guys are feeling.
Yeah, it hasn't been fun. And I mean to clarify, because I feel like we keep pulling back because we don't want it to end, but it is ending for all intents and purposes, and we are going to come back with different stuff that we think is hopefully going to be stronger to stay connected with you guys and to keep the ball rolling, because we're not going away, but the D6 generation as a podcast is basically going away.
Yes, the long version for sure.
Yeah.
All right. So there you have it. That's the big announcement. And listen for more in the not too distant future on the upcoming episodes for some of how the other content will be coming down the pike.
Mm-hmm.
So anything else?
That's it for me.
All right.
Yeah, I think that's it for me right now.
We'll wrap it here on sort of a semi-exciting note. Also kind of sad note too.
Let's go with exciting.
but more to come. So listen on in July. And I hope we'll see many of you at Gen Con at our play by mob. That'll be a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to seeing you all.
Forward to that.
Awesome.
It'll be fun.
All righty.
Good night.
Thanks everybody.
Ciao. This Jever Notice is brought to you by all of our friends over at Patreon. These are the folks that make it possible for us to do this show every week, week in, week out, every episode, all the wackiness, all the not too horrible humor, and it's all because of these people. And today I would like to thank Keith Shutters, Noah Siemens, Pedro Sierra, Andrew Sipes, Alan Skinner, Ray Slakinski, Phil Smith, Steven Suckalese, Ken Squires, and Derek Stanley. Thank you, guys, and all of you guys and gals for everything that you do for the show. Without you, we just simply wouldn't be around. Did you ever notice how often you don't even know how quickly you're going to fall, even though you say you know you're going to fall? Of course, what I'm talking about here is Star Wars Legion. And on Twitter, we've been talking about it quite a bit. And we're going to be talking about it next show a little bit. Maybe we'll have a review for it in the next couple of episodes. I'm not sure. And basically, here's what happened. So I told you guys that that it was I didn't want to do it. And we talked about seeing it at Adepticon, and it really just wasn't kind of our cup of tea, so to speak. And didn't really like the fact that the models were really big. Didn't really like the fact that I couldn't use any of the models that I had. A lot of terrain. I hadn't even thought about this, but a lot of terrain was going to be different. You needed new terrain because the models are so big that standard 28 millimeter terrain actually looks really tiny. Anything smaller than that, like if you had 25 millimeter sci-fi terrain laying around, that really wasn't going to work. And so yeah, there was a lot going against it. And I still don't really like the way that these games are packaged by Fantasy Flight, where you get the cards and you get cooler cards if you get these expansions and whatnot. But I love Star Wars, and I love mobs of stormtroopers. And the last few Star Wars story movie, or last couple, and then the first two, because that's all there's been is two. There've been like really cool land battles with Rogue One and Solo, and there've been land battles, cool land battles in the new movies also. And so then went to Disney World, and oh my god, the Star Wars stuff there is amazing. And I got a t-shirt with a Stormtrooper on it, and I was like, oh, this would be so cool if I had a Stormtrooper shirt. And I had, a game that I played that had Stormtroopers in it, because I don't really play Imperial Assault much anymore. Not much, just seriously not at all. And so then I went to the store the other day, and our friend Tim, who's got his own cool 10mm sci-fi game that hopefully we'll talk about a bit, he got a 3D printer recently, and he has just been cranking terrain out for Midgard, the local gaming store where we go. And he just does it for free. He's one of those guys. I don't have that energy or that time anymore. But when Daka Daka first happened, that was me. I used to crank out that terrain. And it was fun, and I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed watching people play on my terrain. Well, that's Tim now, and he makes it with his 3D printer. And he makes all kinds of cool stuff, like cemeteries and buildings and scatter terrain, all kinds of cool stuff. And he made a whole bunch of Star Wars terrain, like Tatooine, desert kind of Star Wars terrain. And it looked awesome. And I looked at it, and I knew as soon as I saw that terrain, that was it. I was done. And I said, hey, Tim, you want to make me some of that terrain? And I'd like to pay you. And he was like, oh, cool. So he came up with a price that was ridiculous. And I was like, okay, got to go there. All right. So I agreed right then and there. And then he said, you have the game yet? Because I bought the starter, and I never even really looked at it. I just don't have time. I've got too much other stuff I'm doing. And he gave me a really good deal on it, so I got it. And the next day, we kind of hooked up. I went to his work after school, and that's how I got my first starter for a really good deal. And I had a really, really I was like, okay, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go on eBay. I don't want to spend too much money on this. I don't even know if anybody's gonna play with me. Reese promised that he'd play with me, so there was that. And I that's all I really knew. I thought I could maybe get Russ's brother John and our friends Joe and Pete to play. They'll play anything once for me. So I thought, well, I'll get a couple games out of it maybe, and it's Star Wars. But I don't want to spend too much money. So then this amazing, ridiculous coupon for Father's Day came out on eBay, and if you bought it all in one big thing, it was 20% off everything. So I got really good deal, and then 20% off the really good deal. So I got pretty much everything that I wanted. So ended up with 2 starters and a Stormtrooper expansion and the Rebel Trooper expansion and it's the Air Speeder and the ATST. And then I picked up Leia and General Veers, so I would have extra characters to give us some options. And then I found Imperial Terrain, which is this crazy 3D printing terrain store that, if you look at it, first of all, it's sized for Imperial, for Legion, so it actually looks huge until you put the models next to it, and then it looks perfect. And price-wise, if you're talking like you're going to pay, for a Games Workshop building, if they made science fiction buildings, which they don't, but if they did, it'd be like $80 for one building, right? And so I just got 4 buildings for considerably less than that. And they're not kits. They come fully assembled because they're 3D printed as is, which is insane. And they look beautiful. I put those up on Twitter. I haven't painted those yet, but I'm in the process of painting all this other stuff up. And then Russ and Russ, he texted me and he was like, I can finally game again. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. So he was like, what do you want to play? You want to play Drop Fleet? You want to finally get down and play one of these other games that we've been collecting? And I was like, no, I want to play this new game that I collected without you knowing about it. And he was like, wow, okay, that's not really what he had in mind, but he agreed because he's awesome that way. And we played, and we really, really enjoyed it. And I'll give you my 30,000-foot overview, which I gave on Twitter. This game is kind of like a game that if you had created X-Wing, and then if you created Dust Warfare, and then you created X-Wing, There, I might have those two reversed. X-Wing might have come first. And then you created Rune Wars. And then you were like, now let's make a Star Wars miniatures game. This would be that. And it's really good. It's a really good, solid miniatures game. And it's not as bad as Rune Wars, where you're chasing after these really crazy cards, because so far the cards you get in the expansions aren't that big a deal. You get 2 more pieces of war gear, basically, and it's the exact same pieces of war gear in both the Stormtrooper expansion and the Rebel Trooper expansion. And they're, it's a grenade and grappling hooks, and you can really live without either of them. I mean, it gives you a little more flexibility, but nothing you feel like you need to. If you get 2 starters and you don't need more than, 4 squads of Stormtroopers, you want to then get some Snowtroopers or whatever, which I'm still having a hard time with. But, you can do that and not feel like, you're missing out. Otherwise, it's great, and there's suppression, and there's leadership, and it's the dice aren't that hard. And I thought I would hate the movement tool, and I don't. I mean, I thought, it's just going to be this weird gimmicky thing, right? And it is a little gimmicky, but at the same time, it's so much faster to just do that with one guy, and then everybody else is just moves forward and stays kind of in coherency with him. So I think we're going to talk about it some more, because I hope we are, because I've been doing it. I've been painting a lot, and I've really enjoyed our game. I'm looking forward to the next game. I'm really trying to clean the pub. The pub needs to be cleaned before summer. So, well, summer's here, isn't it? But I got to clean the pub so we can start playing down here on weekends, and Reese and I can. And so I would imagine you guys are probably going to hear more about Star Wars Legion. And I'm excited because I'm painting a ton of Stormtroopers and Rebel Troopers and speeder bikes. I mean, come on. And I think this game could go to some really amazing. Well, obviously, it can go to some really amazing places eventually, and I hope it does. Rune Wars makes me nervous. I mean, they've really slow walked Rune Wars since Legion was announced. That makes me very nervous. I'm very, very nervous that they're taking the wrong lesson from X-Wing and their other Star Wars properties. And I think if Solo, which I loved, I'm on record, but and you can listen to the Lost Chapter to hear all about what we thought about it. But if it taught us anything, it's you can't just slap the word Star Wars on something and make it a hit now. So I think X-Wing, with its 2 factions for years, that's the exception that proves the rule. I think you need to have at least another faction, and if you do Scum and Villainy, that gives you a whole bunch of little mini sub factions you can do. And I really hope they realize that this game realizes its full potential, because it's a great, fun, and fast little game. We played a full size, like 50 points down, I guess, because 1 starter and 1 Rebel Trooper expansion and the Airspeeder and the AT-ST wasn't quite enough to get us both up to 800 points. So I think we were at like 830 or 840 or somewhere thereabouts. And we played it. I mean, the whole game lasted like 2 hours, and that was a learning game we'd never played before. We're flipping through the rules. Every rule question we had was addressed very neatly and cleanly in the book. There's a lot of stuff out there. If you go into that Fantasy Flight forum, there's some crazy stuff out there. People making charts and diagrams for how do you figure out cover. We never had a problem with cover. So, but then again, we're not going to play competitively. We're going to play among friends who can all agree what the rule means. And I'll tell you, what we agreed the rules mean isn't necessarily what's all over the forums with all their diagrams and their pictures and their somebody went under a lot of time and effort to do all that. And ultimately what they're looking at is, the AT-ST, you can't see 1/4 inch of its base, so it gets cover, which makes no sense to me. And I don't think anyone here locally would ever claim that. But I guess rules as written, and we haven't seen that fight in the 40K realm for a long time, and that was great. The rules as written versus the rules as intended fight is just not something I want to be involved with, and it just, as a side topic, made me really happy that I don't play competitively. I just play with my friends. So I don't know if Star Wars Legion can make it as a competitive game or not. I think it's a great game. I think the rules are tight. I think the models are really neat. But I don't know. I'm seeing, and they all seem to love it on the forum. It's just the fact that the minutia is you can drown in it. But that's almost any minis game. So anyway, that's all I got to say about that. Obviously, I'm excited. I just chattered on at you for 12 and a half minutes. I got to get out of here before Russ kills me for extending the show some ridiculous amount. So I will talk to you guys later. That's it for now. Thanks for listening, and bye.
Achievement unlocked. You've made it to the end of another D6 Generation episode, the podcast whose humor has universally been acclaimed as not too horrible. Please let us know what you thought of the show by either emailing us at info@the d6generation.com or by posting in our official D6G episode thread at the top of the DACA discussions forum on DACA.com. If for some inexplicable reason you actually enjoyed this show, you can help others find out about it by leaving positive reviews on iTunes. See you in 2 weeks. Thanks for listening, and happy gaming.
The theme from Total Fangirl comes from the soundtrack of The Last Night on Earth, the zombie game, courtesy of Flying Frog Productions, and is a composition of Mary Beth Magalanes.
Alvinophilia.
I got that. Yeah, I heard Ivanophilia, which seemed like a bad joke. Yeah,
That's different and would have been really unacceptable.
inappropriate.
Ivanophilia.
Right.
Yeah, just no. We're not gonna.
No. Okay.
No. Too classy a show.